What a show we got tonight, folks. I hope you guys are ready. What an outstanding show. Guys, welcome to CrossFire, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. You guys already know New York. Here we go. Live show. Going to be great tonight. You guys already know. Very excited. Outstanding panel. And guys, if you're looking at the panel and say, wow, that's a great panel, well, guess what? Just like that, even more people are joining the panel as we speak, and we have a few others going to be joining us the second hour. That being said, guys, I want to say, take a second to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you would, shout out, by the way, to MASH, shout out to Esprit Lotus. These guys keep donating memberships to the channel, 10 a week, 20 a week. I can't say thank you enough. I hope they're here in the chat now to hear that thank you. I will thank them again as the show goes on. Outstanding support in the community. Been talking to a lot of gamers via X, Twitter, however you want to call it these days. PlayStation, Xbox, unbelievable. Even a few people have been reaching out to me over on Steam. Great conversations. A lot going on in the industry. As you can see, we got a lot of people in the know on the panel tonight. But if you look at that outstanding description right there, look at that description. Look at that. It tells you everything that's going to happen, but without all the good stuff in between. Okay? And that's what this panel is going to do for you. The good stuff in between. Right above that's the join button, and that's how you become part of the Mooch Maniac family members. I've been trying to reach out to the great Jay the Matrix Gamer. I'm trying to get a scroll that will go across and have all the names. We're over 117 members on the channel right now. I can't say thanks enough again. Please, guys, do consider joining. It means the world to me. It helps a lot to advance the channel. Can't express that enough. But if you guys would consider hitting that join button and becoming a Mooch Maniac family member, I would truly appreciate it. So I'm not going to be reading all 117 names tonight. You see who they are with those outstanding, those beautiful green names in the chat. Love to each and every one of you guys. He goes, Mooch, is the like button working? I think it's working. We'll see if the super chat's working. I'm not sure if that's working. We'll see how that's going in a little bit. But we have an outstanding panel. I have 13 topics tonight, guys. 13 topics. I only gave the panel 12. They only know about 12 of them. So I got another one. So we're going to do a little rapid fire round second hour too. But you know the first couple topics are definitely going to take us right through the first 60 minutes. All right? That being said, let me go ahead and introduce this outstanding panel. This outstanding panel right here. You guys know him as Senor Badbit, which I'm very excited because he wasn't going to come until probably about 7:30 in the night. 7:30, right. He says. And what is he? He's on time. The great That's Mr. Right. Badbit is back. We're on CrossFire. Buddy, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. You know, I just beat Hellblade. Had a nice busy day the whole day. Like, I honestly, I did not know about the Grand Theft Auto news until like just a minute ago. That's how busy I've been. But it's good. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk games with y'all. So let's get into it.
That's going to be great, Mr. Babbitt. Great to have you here. Another gentleman that says to me, you know, Mooch, listen, I can't wait for CrossFire, but I'm also going to be a little bit late. And what is he? Right on time. The great Porter Rock 77 is back. Hey, P-Rock, listen, we've been trying to make this happen for a few weeks. Schedules didn't work, but guess what? If I had to pick a week, this is the week I want you here. So, P-Rock, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Mooch? What's going on, panel? The stars aligned, because I know we talked, and I told her, hey, I might be late, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get off of work on time, whatever, because it's 4 o'clock right now.
Yes.
But today I have my eye exam, right?
Yes.
And you know, they dilated it, right? And now all of a sudden, like, everything is like ridiculously bright, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not staying at work. Like, I'm going home early. You know, in fact, I just woke up because it was ridiculous. So that's why I'm here on time, ready to talk these topics. Let's go.
Hey, listen, I can't wait, P-Rock. Can't wait to hear what you got to say on a couple of these, especially when we get to some of the Xbox news that broke earlier in the week. You guys know him as Mr. Information. We call him Kami. Okami13_ on X, guys. Kami, welcome back to the show, buddy. We've been talking behind the scenes, too, since your last appearance. And the last time you were on, Crossfire was lit. So I'm hoping we have round 2 tonight. It's going to be nothing but flames, excitement, lots of topics. And what I love about having Kami here is when he's on the show, I get to just bring up a topic, and he's literally a plethora of information. Kami, welcome back, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, man. Happy to be here again. As if it wasn't a crazy enough week already, we got GTA 6 news, so
I know.
A lot to get into today, man.
There's a lot to get into, buddy. I hope you got your notes ready. I sent you a couple of topics. Hopefully we get through at least 5 of them. I want to get through 12, maybe 5. We'll see, Kami. We'll see. By the way, shout out to the great Ranting Greek Gamer. It was great to have him on the show. RGG was on last week. Go over and check out last week's show after tonight's show, of course. Guys, the outstanding and always talented Death Singer is with us tonight. Singer reaches out to me and he goes, Mooch, I see your thumbnail. I see some of the topics. I got to talk to you about Hellblade 2. I said, listen, Singer, pull a chair up. There's no question about it. So, Singer, welcome back to Crossfire, buddy. You know I love it when you're on the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. I mean, it's late, but I'm here, and I'm ready to talk these topics with the panel, and hopefully, everything goes really smooth tonight.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the Great Death Singer is over in Wales, so it is officially 12:14 a.m. for Singer. If you're wondering why he says it's late, it is late for him. So we appreciate you being up with us at this hour, Singer. Thank you very much. Speaking of appreciative, that's me right now, because this guy, HR Bomber, let me tell you something. I don't know what he does for a living, but whatever he does, it's hard work. It's hard damn work, because it's hard as hell to get him on the show. But I love it when he's on here. He's not afraid to throw his opinions out there, and this is the place to do it. Bomber, welcome back, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Man, doing pretty good. Excited to be here because it's been a minute since I've been here. Throwing out my little 2-3 cents here and there. Definitely ready to talk about some of these topics for sure and see where everybody lands anyway.
Absolutely, Bomber. Shout out to Bruce Dickinson. He says, we can't talk about Hellblade 2 until 1 hour before launch. Shout out to Bruce. Bruce, we're going to go ahead and discuss it a bit anyways. We've got a little insider knowledge here, and we're going to talk about it. It's going to be fantastic. But speaking of this gentleman right here, speaking of insider knowledge, this is the gaming community's accountant, if you guys don't know already. The great David Faulkner is back. Faulky, welcome back to the show, buddy. I know that I saw you. I only have you for 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to get a little Hellblade talk in there, and then we'll get a little financials in there. I really wanted to get your take on what everybody was saying with the year over year and 29% down, all that good stuff. I'll let you take the helm when we get there. But David, how you doing over there down under?
Good morning, good evening, good night, everyone. Doing well. We made it to Friday. The world continues to be a crazy place. But, it's a lovely sunny day outside. Looking forward to the chat. It's going to be a great one.
It absolutely is, guys. Absolutely is. David, great to have you here. And, guys, like I said, Brap should be joining us hopefully second hour. Seeds, shout out to Detective Seeds if he's out there listening right now, not feeling too good. He says, Mooch, I'm going to be there. Then he's going to fight through it, and he's going to get here. He said he'll be a little bit late, but he'll be here. So shout out to Seeds as well. Guys, outstanding show. Hit that like button as we get started. Tweet it out. Let everybody know. Singer, I'm going to go to you first. Now, by the way, guys, just so you know, everybody on the panel, I want Singer to talk about what he knows about Hellblade 2. The first thing I'll say to him is this. Very simple, okay? So, Singer, let me put the question out there. Hellblade 2's Embargo releases whatever, either on launch or an hour before the game launches. Listen, normally, and Singer, this isn't anybody on the panel or even the chat's first rodeo. Everybody knows that when we get closer and closer and closer to launch, it's typical, and Microsoft is notorious for this. When Microsoft's confident, they throw out those review codes and they say, talk about it a week ahead of time. So, Singer, that's the only reason this comes up, but you have some information here for a lot of Hellblade fans that may take that warrior concern back. Then we'll ask some questions. So, Singer, tell us a little bit about what you saw from Hellblade 2, and you've seen gameplay. So, what did you think about it? How does it diversify itself from the first one? How does it step aside and say, excuse me, on your left, I'm passing you here from Hellblade 1? How does it take that significant jump for people that are looking forward to what Ninja Theory's got up their sleeve for the about 5-6 days from now?
Okay, so we'll start from an easy one, because it's easy in comparison to the first one. Combat. Now, the issue with the first one is lack of said combat. There's a lot of combat in this game. It's all one-on-one. The term I'd use is realistic. It's not like a God of War, Devil May Cry style combat. It's heavy, it's visceral, you can feel the weight. It's a bit simple, sure, but it's a lot more personal. One-on-one combat, fight to the death. So it's improved in that aspect, because you could tell they have fully mocapped the fight scenes. But like, there was literally just 2 people doing these fight scenes over and over. So it's really cinematic. The looking puzzles are back. Who's surprised? And they've improved the way they utilize the voices. So now the voices, they will antagonize you, but they'll also kind of help you, but then they'll also trick you. So you can't rely on them because they'll bait you. It's really, really cool how they've further improved it. And there's this, you would have seen in the trailers that deep, heavy male voice, which comes from who knows what. And it overpowers, but it kind of suppresses the other voices in her head. And it's really, really cool because it antagonizes you, and it's like, this will happen, this. Then it'll go back to the way it was, and it'll gradually speak to you at different intervals. So, mandatory headset, again, like the first one. In terms of graphics, people wanted a graphical showcase of a game. This is it for Xbox. This is your Horizon Zero Dawn, or Horizon Forbidden West. It's very linear, of course, but they have put so much attention to the detail, down to when you walk through a room, everything, the facial features, top notch. And when you look out to the world, you'll be taking plenty of screenshots in this game. So shout out to the photo mode, you'll be getting a lot of work in. In terms of performance, you could tell it's on Unreal Engine 5, because even the strongest hardware, if you crank up the settings, you still need to enable DLSS. It is intensive, CPU intensive, of course. But there's no stutters, there's no hitches, the performance is smooth. There is some pop-in, but that'll be fixed with a day one patch, I would imagine, because that'd be coming. But overall, the performance is on point. It seems, if I had to sum it up in 3 words, realistic, personal, and cinematic. It is very cinematic. If you love your cinematic story-driven games, this is the game for you. So.
Well, Dessinger, I appreciate everything you said there. Now, we're going to kind of break down what you said. I know Porter Rock's probably taking notes, especially when you said, Xbox fans, this is your Horizon Forbidden West. Porter Rock must have been on mute because I can see him going, no way. So hold on a second. I want to get to that. By the way, everybody, he's not breaking NDA. There's methods that Singer has seen it. We don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows, and we're not going to get into that. That's his information to know, and nobody else's. But no, he did not get a review copy. He has seen the game. That's all I can tell you. And I've known Singer for a very long time. I truly believe every word he's saying, and I know that he has seen it. But I can tell you this much. He's not breaking any rules by speaking his opinion on what he saw. P-Rock, I want to go to you on this real quick just because, of course, I make a joke a second ago. Me and Singer were able to talk a lot about the game in the pre-show. We were talking about it behind the scenes. And from what I gather, and Singer, by the way, if I misinterpret, you say, no, that's not true. You chime in whenever you want. But from what I gather, P-Rock, this is going to be a progression, a better version of what we got in every kind of way. But what that would mean, P-Rock, is if you were a gamer that did not like Hellblade 1, I could see, because the looking puzzles return, the one-on-one linearity combat is there, that you may not care for it. It hasn't taken the game and added a ton of new stuff. What it did was it took what it had and it made it better. So, and Singer, I'm not trying to cut it short by no means. I'm looking forward to playing it. I'm going to play it on, I'm going to tell the audience, I did say I was going to get it on Steam. I got to be honest with you. At this point, I'm probably going to play it on Xbox. I'm just going to play it on, I have the Game Pass for the rest of this year. And so while I have Game Pass, I'm just going to try it there. If it's something phenomenal and I really, really enjoy it, I'll double dip and pick it up on Steam. But P-Rock, what do you think?
So, I'm not confused with the question, but I'm kind of confused where the question is coming from, because that's normally how sequels go. They usually, rarely would you see a sequel and it's a complete new game.
Well, the reason, P-Rock, let me better emphasize it then. This was a very small team in Hellblade 1. This was an independent developer in Hellblade 1. When they were being acquired, they said how hard it was, working unbelievable hours, not eating some nights, putting unbelievable amounts of time away from family into getting this done. Money was a huge problem for them at points during development in 1. Now they have a new facility, unbelievable technology and mocap, a time frame that was massive to make it, with seemingly Microsoft not pressuring them. So when you go from, I was just making a small indie and it ended up being a great success, to now I have the richest company in the world backing me up with infinite money and time and a new facility and new mocap and technology. Some people were talking, a lot of people were talking, Hellblade 2 would take a 7, 8, 9 hour game, whatever the first one was, even go 10 hours if you want, and it was going to blow up into something much, much larger. So that's where I'm going with this. I mean, there's quite a difference.
I get it now. So I would think, so here's the thing. I think it's where the templating started, right? Because if people follow Ninja Theory pre-acquisition, right?
Right.
They were trying to be a studio where they could create a AAA-like experience on a AA budget, right? If everybody remember, the first Hellblade was like $30 and it was digital only. But they try to create a similar AAA-like experience. So the template was there. You know, you had over the shoulder, nice graphics, right? You know, to some degree, a decent combat. Like, could it have been better? Sure. But given the budget, I think it was like $12 million or $10 million. You can see similarities with other, you know, AAA projects of its kind, right? It's not like Helldivers, where it was a true, and maybe true is a bad word, but it was a classic indie, top down, little characters, $10, and now they blew up to this bigger game, right? So Hellblade, where it started from, was already, the blueprint was already there to be a AAA game, right? But now with more money and more resources, people could probably wonder, you know, where the improvements will be, right? Graphically, you could see the improvements was definitely there with the bigger budget, right? But I'm guessing people probably expecting, you know, more combat, maybe more characters on screen. I think at this point, in order to judge or criticize, you have to play the game, right?
Absolutely. Because
the one thing they do want is visceral combat. That, you know, that's something they really want, and sometimes you can't get that with 5 or 6 characters on the same screen, right? Because now you have to be more, you have to worry about speed, and sometimes speed takes away from being visceral, right? So if they still want that, like, you know, really difficult, just get that sense of like every fight is like a fight for your life type feeling, it's going to have to be with less characters, but more powerful and stuff like that, right? But I guess to really see the improvement, we're just going to have to play it, because there's only so much we can describe from just looking at it.
Right.
You know, graphically, we could see the improvements are there. Graphically, we can see that they went, you know, they really went the extra mile. But now to really see the improvements from the gameplay perspective, we're going to have to like actually play it. Now, if people expected this game to go from, let's say, a 9-hour game, which is what it was, I think the first one was like 8 hours, whatever, wasn't a long game, but now to become a 16, 17-hour game, I don't think that's a budget consideration. I mean, it is a budget consideration because that means you have more stuff to work on, but I think that's more of a, what do you do? Like, do you make this into a Ubisoft template? Like just fetch quests?
Yeah.
Because a lot of games
that
are 16, 17 hours aren't really, if you ignore all the fetch quests, you know?
Yes.
So like with this game, would people want that? Like if you wanted to play Hellblade for 16 hours, but they did it by doing these side missions that are fetch quests, is that what you really want?
So P-Rock, I'm in your camp, because I actually feel the way you did when you first asked for clarification on the question. I myself personally enjoyed Hellblade. I don't want them to really deviate much from what was a success in the first one. So I just wanted to see them make some advancements. I will say, and me and Singer were talking about this again behind the scenes, when it comes to the grading of a Metacritic score, I don't think anything Death Singer said is wrong. I think that the graphics, the effects, the sound, is going to be, the mocap is going to be spot on. Probably just, let's use the word excellent. It's going to be excellent. The attention to detail is going to be immaculate. I think that a lot of people, some people, I shouldn't say a lot, some people were thinking that instead of having a one-on-one encounter again, the combat would kind of maybe have blown up a bit more. Do you know what I'm trying to say? The game mechanics advance, diverse enemy types, the level staging. I don't know if, and like you said, we have to play before we can actually talk about it. This is all hypothetical before. But you know that's where I'm at. Kami, I want to ask you real quick. You don't get a chance a lot of times on Twitter to be like, I like this or I hate this. Where are you right now on Hellblade 2? You heard what Singer said. You came in early, so you got to hear what Singer was saying in even more detail. What are your expectations now that you've heard someone that saw the game and what you've seen with your own eyes?
I love everything I just heard.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the first Hellblade. I'm on record saying Hellblade 2 is my most anticipated Xbox game. So I love what I just heard. I kind of hear what you're saying, though. I know for me, I did kind of think that after they got acquired by Microsoft, now that they had a much bigger budget, maybe they go, maybe not open world, but at least like open zones, or just, expand upon the first game as far as gameplay, level design, stuff like that. But if they're going to go with the same structure, it sounds like the combat is better. It sounds like it's still a visual spectacle. Gameplay-wise, though, yeah, like P-Rock said, we're probably just going to have to play it to see how it is.
Completely agree. Now, Mr. Badbit, I'd like to get a little bit of... Singer, do you have more to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say one or two things that Potter Rock
Go ahead.
raised. It was... The thing is, the combat is glorious. Like, it's a visual spectacle, but it's also one-on-one visceral combat. Like, the executions, and yes, there is multiple enemy types. You won't just be fighting the same thing over and over. And there's more combat than the first one. So if you mess with the combat, there'll be more of it. It's not more walking sim with some combat. It's now an actual... It feels like they took Hellblade and went, let's dial it up to 100, but let's keep it Hellblade. Let's not try and reinvent the wheel. Let's just make the wheel gold-plated with spinners on. It's so it's took it from a AA indie game to this is a AAA game. This is like what you would expect, and I understand how they kept it so small because they focus so much on detail. There's no fluff and filler in the game.
Singer, you should address this. Shout out to the Floyd, by the way. Shout out to Floyd. He says, is it gory? You said yes. You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, in the combat, like when, let's say you get hit, you can see the blood splatter across your skin. Okay. Like when you go in for a kill and you jam the sword down someone's neck, you can actually feel the weight of you taking the sword and just jamming it straight down. And you can see the blood and whatnot. There's no dismemberment from what I can see. But like when you cut someone, you could see you cut someone.
It's great.
So if you get slashed across the chest, like when you come into combat, you'll be covered in blood. You'll have cuts and yeah. That
was great timing, by the way. As you were saying that, the clip I had up on screen literally showed exactly what you're saying. That was perfect timing. Mr. Badbit, I go to you on this occasion, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Bomber's going to say too, and Falky. But I got to say, Mr. Badbit, you are just a plethora of positivity in the community, Mr. Badbit. I just want absolutely, or maybe it's just on Crossfire. You are, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't like playing devil's advocate, man. If I disagree with y'all, it's a boring show.
That's right. So, Mr. Badbit, what do you think?
I always do. That's my cross to bear, man. So no, I love the first Hellblade, and I just want to say this for the record, just in case there's some Microsoft assassins in the room. I have no idea what these men were talking about earlier.
That's right.
I have no idea. I don't know who any of these people are. I just wandered into this Discord.
He found a Discord.
I just want to. This sounds like a good
I'm not involved.
I'm not involved with these people. That said, though, I love the first Hellblade. And I don't think I'll keep it very short because I really want to hear what David has to say about all those financials because I think a lot of people over.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, but to keep it short, I really loved the first game. I think the first game I beat it a year or two ago, platinumed it. Really enjoyed that game. So needless to say, Hellblade 2 is probably one of my most anticipated games this year, and I don't think just because reviews are going out an hour before the game goes live, that's indicative of quality of the game.
But it is a trend. It is a trend, though.
Yeah, it is a trend, and I mean, it worries me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you, because oftentimes it may be associated with. I just think it's one of the ways that Xbox, they really want to make it like word of mouth is a thing that pushes it, akin to Netflix, is what we've been hearing over the past few weeks, and I think they think that's this game's best bet. I'm just scared for that studio because it really just does not seem that Microsoft cares much about it.
Yeah, that is a fear.
And to see how like hot and cold they are lately, that concerns me quite a bit.
Yeah,
but that's all I gotta say. I'm excited though. I'm gonna be playing this game on PC day one.
Why not on Game Pass, Mr. Badbit?
I mean, I think my Game Pass works on PC.
Oh, you're gonna be using PC Game Pass. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Great point, Mr. Babbitt. Outstanding.
I bought into the scam, you know what I mean? You got me for another couple of months.
You're part of this.
Till all goes under or something.
That's right. So, now, listen, you guys have heard all the positivity. Bomber, not to put you on the hot seat here, but it is Crossfire. Bomber, you said something, and listen, shout out, by the way, to the great Crap Gamer. Crap used to always say to me all the time, I like the game, but he goes, the looking puzzles really got to him. And we were talking before this show, and Bomber says, I'm not a big fan of the puzzles. So, Bomber, if the puzzles are still a decent, I'm not going to say half or a large, I don't know. But if it's a decent part of the game still, has this enhanced, kept the same, or kind of devalued a bit of your excitement?
It definitely didn't devalue it. It just made me go, okay, it's just in there, unfortunately. I hate puzzles. That's the reason why I would never, like I just told you earlier, that's why I would never say God of War is like one of the best games ever, because it also has stupid puzzles, and for an action game like that, I just don't give me that. I can understand with this game, it's more intimate. Everything is so mental. I get it. Like I get why you have all these challenges throughout the game for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with it. And that's why I am okay with it, because it's just a setting. It's the way the game is. I am very happy that they aren't going like super big where all of a sudden Hellblade is an open world game or a way super open where you can kind of do as you wish. Like I just feel like that would dumb down the point of why they created the first one. So it being 7-8 hours, good. Look, I'm 38
that's fine.
years old. I have kids. I have a job. I work a lot. I do. And so my gaming time is like at 10 p.m. my time. So I get to play for maybe an hour or two a night, unless I'm lucky and I get off early. Then my wife lets me play or something. So like, yeah. So I'm okay with short games for sure. I also love big long games. I mean, shit, Cyberpunk is literally probably still my favorite game of all time, and I put 140 hours in my first gameplay. So I'm not gonna say that I don't want to play long games. I just feel like I'm glad they didn't just do it because they're under Microsoft and like, oh, we can now make this massive game, and then all of a sudden it gets lost because people are like, it's not what I was looking for. And I'm hoping it does well. I'm definitely going to play it when I can, whether that be Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whenever. I'm not one of those dudes that's going to be up at.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing, Bomber, this game might take you a month to finish.
Oh, it could. I mean, shoot, the first one I started when it first hit Game Pass, and I never touched it again because I got pissed off at the crow, the area where you do the crow stupid puzzle throughout the woods and stuff, and that was like the worst thing ever. So I put it down, and then I literally just beat it 3 weeks ago. So yeah, so however long that was.
I was actually thinking myself, I was actually going to go back. I beat it, got 900 out of 1,000 achievement on Xbox. I was thinking about going back and getting the platinum on PS4 this weekend. I mean, like a singer is like, Mooch, you could just do it in one sitting. Just do it in one sitting. So now I'm thinking to myself, Singer's got me thinking. I got to get up Sunday and just play. I'm going to play the original one again, get that platinum, and then I will dedicate that platinum to Death Singer. Shout out to the Great Gaming Forte, who says, don't keep my homie Singer up all night. That's me and Luca's job. I'll try to make it back soon. Have a great show. Forte, we miss you dearly. You have no idea. The Great Gaming Forte, everybody. Shout out to Luca, too, by the way. Shout out to Forte. The great Mega Cloud 47, he says, guys, don't worry about Hellblade coming to PS5. Just enjoy the W. And if any of the panel defend Phil for Xbox going third party, I'm going to scream. Mega, don't worry. I don't think you're going to hear any defending on that point. Shout out to the great Jay Bari. Shout out to Jay Bari and Persona. You guys, what's up? PlayStation returns this Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll be in that chat. Jay goes, my favorite PlayStation podcast with the eyes looking. That's great. Jay, I get that, and thank you very much. Great to have you here, Jay, in the audience. The great Sir X-Man is back. The Super Chat's working tonight. It's a miracle. Says, Mooch, you need AA for Call of Duty addiction. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's why I don't have more gosh darn trophies and achievements. I'm playing this game. They should give there's no multiplayer achievements. If there are, I already got them all. Nonetheless, David, I got to go to you here. And David, we're going to go right from Hellblade. Hellblade might come back up again later on in the show. But David, what do you think? You've heard what Death Singer had to say. You've heard the panel. I want to get your take on it. And then as soon as David's done, I'm going to go right down the panel real quick. Just want a number. I want to hear what they're thinking. So guys on the panel, while David's giving you his thoughts, think about a Metacritic score. I want to hear what you guys are thinking after hearing what Singer told you. David, what do you think? Does this enhance your excitement for Tuesday?
Yes and no. I think I'm more apprehensive about what's going to hit social media and what's going to flood our timelines. Now, it's going to be, like I said, graphically impressive. It should be. They've had the budget. They've had the skill set. They've got an amazing engine. You look at what they did with the first one. They've got people who know how to milk that engine and get the best out of it. And it's a continuation. That's great. We've seen plenty of good sequels come through where they've taken what's worked and made improvements. That's basically the PlayStation first party playbook. And it's a lot of third party playbooks, particularly Ubisoft and a couple of others. So I have faith that the people that are there are going to do a good job. They've had plenty of time. They've had no financial pressure and stress, which can make a big difference when you're trying to perform at a high level. They've got the support they need to do what they want to do. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they've been able to achieve, whilst trying to not lose that feeling of it's a small budget game that looks impressive. It's almost like they're trying to do shouldn't say do the opposite of what they did the first time, but it's like a benchmark, I guess, is how I'm seeing it. The first one they did with no budget, they did it under huge amounts of stress and pressure, and they produced a gem. Can they do the same thing with the big budget, and then what does that gap look like? And that's the thing that I'm apprehensive about with the social media engagement. It sounds like it's going to be dynamite, but it's going to get comparatives because it's been held up unfairly, might I add, by influencers and other people who just love to yap like a little dog and say that this is going to blow everything out of the water. You wait till you see it. Be similar to what happened with Starfield, except I don't think this is going to miss like Starfield did.
Yeah,
the graphics are going to be there by the sounds of it. The gameplay's there. There's been improvements made. It's an iteration and an advancement. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what it looks like and seeing how it plays and hearing the feedback from that. But you can pretty much miss me with all the comparative console war bullshit that's going to come out of it. Because, as others have already said, nearly everyone on the panel said this, just play the game, enjoy it. If you like it, great, share it with your friends. If you don't like it, I'm sad that you had an experience like that, but it doesn't give you the right to drag it down.
That's right.
If there's valid criticisms or there's valid points that need addressing, address them. But don't all jump on the bandwagon and start review bombing and all this other bullshit just because you had a poor experience. Because I'm probably not going to like it that much. But that's only because of psychological horror and that sort of stuff isn't really my cup of tea. But I like gore. I like one-on-one combat. I like slow, clunky combat because I can keep up with it, and I can play it well. But there'll be others who just want the Devil May Cry style. That's great. It's probably not going to be your game, but that doesn't mean you get to have the right or the ability to drag it down for others who might like it. So, I'm interested. It's piqued my interest. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I like how you kind of phrased that, David, and I agree with you. I really do. So David, I'll go to you last here to give you a moment to think about it. Porter Rock, real quick, just going to go through a number here that I'm going to ask a quick question to. I'm going to go through, and then I got a question for P-Rock, and then we'll move on here, because I only have David for so long. We may be coming back to Hellblade. But P-Rock, real quick, Metacritic score, what do you think?
Maybe an 82?
Okay, 82. No, there's no right or wrong here. Mr. Babbitt, what do you think?
Yeah. If this is Xbox's version of a PlayStation game, then it's an 88.
Okay. All right. Kami, can we get? By the way, Kami, this is going to hold on. I hate to put pressure on you, dude. There's a lot of weight on you right now. You're you and Zuby Tech out there, Mr. Information. What do you think?
First of all, don't compare me to Zuby Tech.
Oh,
no
sorry.
shade. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said easily Game of the Year contender, probably 88, 89, maybe even 90.
Okay.
I think recently, especially since the developer direct in January, I've kind of set my expectations down a little bit.
Okay.
And again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just had my expectations too high. I'm gonna go with an 84.
84.
I think that's fair.
That's
I think
fair.
that's probably where it'll land.
And
Like,
you know, at the end of the day,
yeah.
I'm just happy this game is being made.
Yep.
Ninja Theory seem like really good guys. Every time I see, you know, their little documentaries, it seems like they put their heart and soul into this game. So I wish them the best. I hope it does really well. But yeah, I'm gonna go with an 84.
84 is a fair, very fair score. I got to be honest with you, Kami. I'll give my number, but I happened to say my number before the show to a couple of you guys, so they already know what my number is. But I'll announce it at the end. Singer, what do you think?
From what I've seen and what I know about it, 86. 86 comfortably.
I don't know this man.
I don't know who he is or where
A perfect stranger.
Mr. Badbit literally walked into the wrong Discord. He's like, how'd I get here?
Is this a trophy room Discord?
I purposefully named it almost the same thing. We're like one letter off. That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
My apologies, Mr. Babbitt. HR Bomber, this is going to be a great number. What do you think?
I'm thinking about 82 to 83 max.
That's fair. I like the range. All right. That's fair. David, real quick, got to get your number on this because we're talking about it, and it's going to be talked about all weekend long, David.
I think it'll be over 80.
You're saying just over 80. You're not going to get specific. Can I get a two-number range? David, you're an accountant. I need real numbers. I can't just send a check into the government and go, I thought this was close enough.
Yeah. Crunch the numbers for us,
Well, I don't know what lies you've been told, but accountants work in intrigue and mystery and estimates. So
you do work in gray areas. Yes,
it'll be around an 83. I think an 83, and because it'll get plenty of just walk up 100s from a few sites, and it'll get dragged by a couple of other sites. So I think overall it's somewhere around 82, 83, and I think that'll be a fair representation in the current, climate for Metacritic. I think the user scores are going to be very, very much the telling of this game, whether it's liked or not.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. You heard it here first. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say my number. I thought there was going to be more here. Kami and I are right on the same page. I said 84. 84 is where I think it will land, and I think that's a great score, by the way. For all of you that go, well, there you go. There's Mooch, not giving it a 97. Well, I didn't give it a 97, but I think an 84 is a great score. I am looking forward to playing it. And before we get to our numbers, Puerto Rock, here's the big question surrounding this. Last minute marketing. Nothing really, not a lot out there until people have been really complaining about the marketing. And now all of a sudden we see a little bit, but it's still quite weak, honestly. Really, really weak marketing. A lot of people are saying that even if it's successful, that Ninja Theory may be one of the unfortunate companies that Microsoft still may, because we did hear that more cuts are coming to studios this summer and into the fall. P-Rock, do you think Ninja Theory gets a pass and a wave? Or do you think that they're just in the same group as every Microsoft-owned company right now, development team, and they're just waiting and praying?
I actually asked that question when the layoffs first came out. I'm thinking, is Ninja Theory in trouble? Like, how far? Because we know more is coming, right? The lack of marketing is a concern only because that's a cost-saving measure, right? Sometimes a decent amount of the budget of a video game is how much marketing you put into it. Mm-hmm. So if you barely put any marketing, it's because you're saving money from the thing, right? But if you're saving money and not trying to advertise the game, is it because there's no long-term plans? Because I would think if you have a studio with long-term ambition, then you're going to market them, right? You want their products to be more successful. You want it to be out there. So the fact that this game wasn't really marketed well, that's kind of it does give room to be nervous about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not investing the money, right? This game should be marketed. Now, obviously, it's not going to be marketed to the links of, God of War or Halo or, Starfield, whatever. But it should be more than what they did, right? Especially they haven't released a AAA for a little while. And given that this game was announced back in 2019, I mean, and they already made announcements saying that they're going to focus on the big titles, right? Going forward, right? They want to push the big revenue generating titles.
Yes.
Ninja Theory is not that studio. None of their games across the board are big like they don't make 10 million selling games.
That's a really good point here.
That's just not who they are. Not with PlayStation. You could look at Heavenly Sword, you could look at Devil May Cry when they worked on that. What was it? The West game? I forgot what
Odyssey
that was called.
To the West?
Yeah, Odyssey to the West. That was their title. Those games don't sell 5 plus 6, 7 million. None of their games do. They're good, and they were probably successful in terms of the budget versus the sales. But they don't make big blockbuster games. They don't make those 10 million tempo games, right?
Yeah.
They don't make console selling games. They would never ever that studio.
P-Rock, you actually make some really good points there, and you're only using the logic that we've gotten from the information provided over the past, let's say, 7 to 10 days, and that really is, or maybe 2 weeks now. It's been since the original. We heard about Tango Works and Arcane Austin, but I do want to say that Kami, I'm going to go to you here real quick. P-Rock makes a good point. If Microsoft is now focused on large AAA, multi-million sales, this is a situation where, sure, this is a AAA game, but it was announced in 2019. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I have no problem being wrong. I think when the one of the lead developers went on Kind of Funny, they said something to the event of, they really didn't have much besides that trailer we saw at the Game Awards. That was really all they had. So they were still in, thought process and development of the conceptual plan of the game at that point. So here we are in 2024, May of 24, and now we're getting a game, and it's a 7 to 10 hour experience depending on your gameplay. I did a poll that I'll get the numbers up while Kami answers, and it's not even complete, but I'll give you the statistics, everybody. A lot of people are going to play this on Game Pass, which we know where Game Pass is sitting. I don't know if that's going to intrigue people to buy Game Pass or get into Game Pass. But the numbers I'm about to read you after your opinion, Kami, is that they're showing quite low on people expecting to buy the game. And that is a scare, right? I mean, P-Rock makes a good point if they're not making that revenue. So what do you think, Kami? Is Ninja Theory, are they in danger?
See, and that's part of the reason why I was anticipating this game so much is I really thought that Hellblade 2 could be one of those games that's like a turning point for Xbox. It could potentially convince PS5 owners, hey, let me go get an Xbox. Let me go subscribe to Game Pass.
Right.
Because, like many people have said, it is the most Sony-like of the Xbox games, right? So yeah, depending on how it reviews, it could still do that, but again, it doesn't look like they've expanded it as much as maybe I was hoping they did. So I don't know. We'll see. As far as the marketing, I think that one thing that Sony does really well that maybe Xbox needs to improve on is they make their games feel like an event, right? When God of War Ragnarok comes out, we have billboards everywhere, Times Square, London, Japan, right? Even FF7 Rebirth. Remember when there was like a giant Leviathan axe in London for God of War Ragnarok? Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what the Xbox fans are really clamoring for when they say, where's the marketing? We need more marketing. Is they want the game to feel like an event. They want something that the entire community can get behind and come together. And, when Sony releases a game, even if you aren't into gaming, hey, PlayStation is dropping a new game on this day, next week, whenever it may be. And that's what Xbox, I think, really needs to improve on moving forward. Even if it's not going to be like a big... Because I don't think Hellblade 2 was ever going to be, a big seller, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's a first-party Xbox game, and it should be something that the Xbox fans can get behind and feel excited about, and it should feel more like an event.
And it's funny, guys, another way to think about it, as Kami's saying it, is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. When there's these huge events and there's all these videos leading up to it, especially in the gaming community, because I know all you guys that are listening now or listening later to the show, I know all of you pay attention to what's going on Twitter and YouTube and your favorite YouTubers out there. And when you have this build-up that like Kami's talking about, that Sony does with a lot more of their titles, it makes it feel like, I wasn't gonna buy that game, but I really want to be a part of the conversation right now, and it's that FOMO. That also leads to it. And what does that do? It enhances sales. That's all part of the scheme. I get that. So Kami makes some great points. I want to say this as we switch subjects slightly over to the year-over-year fourth quarter numbers and revenue that came out. All these great topics that are in David's wheelhouse. I did a poll yesterday, guys. And again, small census, but it's a decent number. I still have the poll active for 19 hours. I was going to end it at the show, decided to go a little bit longer. So I still have 19 hours. 2,124 people have voted so far. 2,124 people. So again, is that the gaming community? No. Is it a decent number to understand? Maybe. It's a good conversation piece anyway. 21-24, I said, where will you play Hellblade 2? Xbox Game Pass, Steam PC, purchase the game on Xbox, not interested at all. 27% said Xbox Game Pass, 11% Steam PC, 5% purchase the game on Xbox, 56% not interested at all. That's an interesting breakdown. I'm doing a poll right now live in the chat. We'll see how that ends up as we get to the middle of the show. I'll leave it up for a while so everybody coming in can take a second to vote on that. So that's an interesting thing. And I don't know if that's just, of course on Twitter you have to take everything with a grain of salt. That could be just, a hate vote. Who knows? Shout out also, I want to give a quick shout out to Zigzag, and he says, if you use standard industry metrics, 82, 83. If we use Xbox standards, 103. So there you go. So Zigzag saying an 82. I get the reference. Full Sweat Try Hard, he says, I remember 2 years ago when Hellblade 2 and Starfield were the games that were going to change the narrative about Xbox. What a difference 2 years makes. We were saying that last week to Full Sweat. God Emperor Sofa King says, LOL, where was this for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? That marketing did not work. Emperor King, I'm not sure if you are under a rock. It scored in the 90s, first of all. And second of all, it depends on who you ask. So the Square Enix numbers now, Square Enix came out and said that they're going to be taking a multi-plat approach moving forward. But they also came out and said that Rebirth did well enough for them as well. So, I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this much. I would assume that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will probably sell more than Hellblade 2 on Xbox. Do you guys think that's true?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course it will. But it is telling that Square Enix didn't release 16's numbers either. I noticed that. And they still ain't released. Because normally if they love it, they talk about it. If they don't love it, what they're seeing, they shut the hell up. And at the moment, they're in shut the hell up mode.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm pretty sure, given their recent announcement, it probably didn't what they thought it would do. It didn't do what they thought it would do.
Yeah,
I
and
also don't think you'll ever know because Xbox doesn't give out information anyway.
I will say as well that Rebirth did have a massive marketing run. Like, I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but they were at every gaming event, every award show. Like, they were constantly showing us new info. So he does bring up a good point. For all that marketing, maybe the sales weren't as good as they expected. So, again, what I think Xbox needs to do is not just put up billboards and put up, signs, but you need to make it feel more like an event.
Right, I agree. And we only have the great David Faulkner for a few moments longer. David, can we talk a little bit? And I'm just going to do a generic title here. Guys, we can come back to Hellblade, by the way, if anyone on the panel feels like they still have more to say on this. I'll ask after we get through this, the financials here, because this was a big part of the early part of this week. David, you were absolutely on fire. If we were still using typewriters, your fingers would have been bleeding. Dave, you're all over Twitter, now X, about PS5 shipping 5 times more than Xbox in the last quarter, and of course they were going over year as far as fiscal year. Was it now, because they were fiscal year 23, I believe, David. But go ahead and correct me where I'm wrong. What was the misunderstanding and the things that you had to repeat yourself over and over again earlier this week?
So yeah, people that don't, shouldn't say people. Certain journalists, if you want to call them that, they'll grab something, they think they understand it, and then they repeat it not knowing what they're saying, and they lack context at times. So when a financial person talks year on year or quarter on quarter, the period that you're referencing from, so this quarter 4 or the financial year 2023, that gives you the starting point as to where you're referencing back. And we do that because of seasonal adjustments and different things happen. So we usually look at things, what happened last quarter, what happened this quarter, because it takes out a heap of variations. For some funny reason, these, I use air quotes, journalists decided that they were going to use that without the context. And then a heap of other individuals decided that, no, that can't be right because it doesn't give me the number that I think is right. And then woke up one morning, pick up my phone, look at what's going on, and it's like all hell's broken loose because both people are wrong. And no one wants to admit or ask the question if what the go is. So, look, PlayStation absolutely romped at home, record number of consoles sold in a financial year, 20.8 million. They missed their target originally, which was 25, by a long way. It's still a record year. And it's still $1 million plus more than what they did the prior year, I'm pretty sure, from memory. Mm-hmm. Record revenue, stagnant operating income percentage. And their bottom line EPS is deteriorated a bit further. So what does that all mean? The layoffs and the studio shutdowns and all that sort of stuff that they did do haven't corrected the issue, but they've taken a step to stem the bleeding, so to speak. So watch that space for more to come. The announcement of the joint CEOs is a good one because it means that someone who knows about games is looking after gaming and not someone who's purely financial is looking after gaming. Because if you had Totoki or Lintao or someone like that with a pure finance background looking after it, strap yourselves in and then put your seatbelts on because it would have been a bloodbath.
Because you're not just looking at someone. Because Herman Hulst has to answer the fact of like, hey, these games are getting more expensive. We need to find a way to make them, to show growth, right? In the software space. If you had someone that's pure numbers and who doesn't give a shit about the art form, well, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing making moves that make fiscal sense and not creative sense. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's dangerous to us as a consumer. It may deteriorate our options. And that's not just at Sony. There's a few other places that are taking the same pathway. But, splitting the roles, I think, good option going forward. It means that they can not wear their senior decision maker too thin and burn him out. There's some bolstering going on at the level underneath to fill a few more spots to give a bit more oversight, which will be good. Their outlook, their forecast, pretty stagnant. We're going to get more of the same. What I did note was they haven't cranked up their inventory level yet, so the PS5 Pro is not yet in production. Sorry to cause grief to everyone on that. The other thing too is their cash flow. PlayStation sorted out their cash flow issue. So it looks like, and this is what all those layoffs and studio closures hark back to, they don't show on the P&L immediately, but they do show in the cash flow. So they've sorted their cash flow issue out, which is good because it means we might get some more discounts coming forward. And they're not so heavily reliant on a high-priced core console. What was the other thing I picked out of it? In the forecast, the I think we're going to get a lot more of these partnerships like they've done with Rise of the Ronin, Stellar Blade, Helldivers, where PlayStation acts as the publisher as well as the funder in all aspects and across all the platforms they launch it on. What that does in conjunction with XDev is it gives PlayStation more freedom to basically get more revenue, but without increasing their expenditure. So they do it as a cost offset arrangement, and it gets them out of those big media marketing budgets that they have used in the past for promising everyone to close the deals. So that'll help improve their bottom line as well. But it means that we're going to get a lot more of these, and you see how many people are working in XDev now, we're going to get a lot more of these partnership arrangements. Mm-hmm. So, you know, how good Stellar Blade's been going, Rise of the Ronin, Helldivers 2, smash hit. No one saw that coming. So the stuff they got in the pipeline, it's almost like they're going back to the PS2 strategy and what they used to fix the PS3 issue. Let's just engage with third parties, bring them, you know, closely held back to like a second party arrangement. And let's just get some games out. Because their first party is going to be slow as shit. You'll be lucky to get 4 out of them next year. And that's including PC launches and remasters and all the rest of it. I don't think you'll see a new IP next year. I think you'll be 3 or 4, either a sequel or a PC launch with an updated version.
I was hearing
it's going to be slow going.
I was hearing we'll start seeing some of the big guns launching April of 25.
Yeah, that will be out. That will be March 25 is the end of their financial year. So, yeah, possible. Yeah. I would be thinking somewhere more June to September 25.
Well, David,
probably the window. They'll stay away from GTA 6.
Yeah, stay away from GTA 6. David, here's another point. Shout out to Joe Bowler in the chat. He says, Mooch, have we also forgotten that PS5 sales are still normal price, where Xbox consoles S and X are being sold heavily discounted? Costco sells Series S near me for $140 at least once a month, but not getting into the Xbox Series X and S, not making this PS and Xbox. Just PlayStation alone, David, this time frame in the PS4 era, I think I saw articles saying that PlayStation 4 at this time in that lifespan, it was $299. So
yeah,
this is still
it was heavily discounted at this time in the life cycle. So they've kept the price up, and even with the high price, it's still marching ahead. Obviously, it's going to take a downturn now. It's probably peaked. Well, I think it's peaked. I did see some people carrying on saying that the forecast for next year being somewhere around 18 or 19 million units sold was a, you know, that's the death of PlayStation. That's the death of Sony. Their forecast is going to be their second best year on record. Who do these people think they are saying these comments? Do they even read? Come on, guys. They're in an absolute.
At that point, I hope
they're in an. Oh yeah, it's clear. Anyway, PlayStation is in a rude amount of health in terms of what they can sell. Their problems are internally, and it's costing them a bomb to do it. So, yeah, having people in charge that are gaming focused, looking after the gaming stuff, and not having a bean counter in charge who's looking at it going, well, we can cut costs here, we can cut costs here, we'll just stop selling that because it's not making the returns. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. Don't be mad that Herman's in charge of part of this thing. That's a good thing. And the guy that got in charge at the other side, he's been working in platform delivery for ages. He is a Sony boy. He has been there for forever. He is absolutely on song with what their pathway is going forward. He's been mentored by some of the best that have ever been there. And the interesting thing is that he's not a Jim Ryan guy. So it's a sort of a bet each way here. The growth part of it, and I was chatting to a couple of other people who have a lot more in the background of this stuff than I do, because I just look at the numbers. But the Jim Ryan team hasn't been shunned, but they weren't brought up. They're still in there working hard, doing all that growth work and rectifying these other things. So there's probably the mid-range plan is going to be buckle on and grit your teeth, because it's going to be unpleasant reading for some things. I don't think we've seen the end of layoffs at PlayStation. I also don't think we've seen the end of growth at PlayStation. I think there'll be a transition from heavy labor-focused developments and a more streamlined approach to their mocap and their development in that respect, and probably an uptick in their AI and automated development. The big cost is, if you have a game that runs in 12 months over budget, it's insane on what that costs. That's tens of millions of dollars. So, Anyway, Sony's all good. Before I run off, I don't know, but then this will segue into another conversation point.
Yeah.
Has anyone bothered to look at the Take-Two financials that came out overnight? Anyone?
No, David, please inform the audience and the panel, please.
Ooh. Well, Take-Two took it in the teeth to the tune of $3.7 billion loss at the bottom line.
Oof.
They were a $500 million loss at operating level. That comes out of a $2.9 billion goodwill write-down. And what does that mean? Well, they impaired their goodwill. It means they bought something that's no longer worth that value. I don't know what it is. I haven't got through the detail yet. I was just looking at it this morning, but they took it in the teeth big time.
Wow.
That's one piece of it. The next piece of it is what they put in their forecast. Their forecast for financial year 25, which runs 1st of April this year, 2024, to 31 March 2025, lined up with PlayStation runs Sony runs the same financial year. Their forecast for 2025, and they've said that GTA 6 is launching in the spring. Was it spring or autumn 25?
Fall. Autumn, fall.
Fall. So, and that would be, so what's fall, September to November, up your end? Or, yeah, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So September to November this year is when the launch is expected, right?
Next
year.
Next year.
Next year, right. I get so confused with the north and south when you talk fall and what's doing what. Their forecast for this next financial year, which does not include GTA 6, if it's fall 2025,
right?
Calendar 2025.
It would be.
I think it would include, because fiscal year 2025 is April 2025 to March 2026.
Yes.
So September to
I'll have to
November.
come back to you on that one.
No. 2025 starts now. We're in 2025. Fiscal year 2025.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's confused. Fiscal year is a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in
the
ass.
ass. Fiscal year 2025 for Rockstar and Sony started in April. So we're in fiscal year 2025 right now.
Yeah. So fiscal year 2025, which would include fall this year, the end of this year. That would be fall 24. So based on that, it does not include GTA 6. But their forecast is that they're going to have a $500 million loss at the end of this year. Take-Two's not looking great. They can't get that game out here fast enough. It's not good. By the end of this financial year, if their forecast, by March 2025, if their forecast holds true, their shareholders will have lost $20 a share.
Oof.
It's nuts. It's not looking that flash. So that's right. That's right. So I was just going to say there's elements in that forecast which don't read great. There will be cost-cutting measures. There will be layoffs. There will be shutdowns. There will be a multitude of different things that they do. Some of the lower-end metrics around user engagement and monetization are improving, but they're not growing at any rate. They're just stagnant. Keep an eye on Take-Two, because that run in to get GTA 6 out is going to be quite the ride. But it's not flash.
The only positive thing is I saw a lot of people on Twitter today saying, "Oh, if they're saying fall 25, this is easily going to be delayed into early 26," which that happens all the time in game development, especially something of this magnitude. But listening to what David's saying, he's 100% right. They want this game out right now. Like this game needs to come out ASAP. So I wonder if it will be delayed. Or they're just going to get this thing out the door, and maybe this fall 2025 has that buffered in. What do you think, Kami?
I was just gonna say it's sounding like that Kotaku report maybe had some truth to it. Because they were talking about how Take-Two really wants it to come out next year in calendar 25, but the developers at the studio are kind of thinking, we might not be able to do that. It may even get delayed to 2026. So if what David is saying is true, maybe there's some truth to that. All I'm going to say.
You can see why they bought Gearbox. I mean, that's an absolute steal. If Gearbox had 2 games ready to go, and they're going to come out between now and GTA 6, and Rockstar's only got, or Take-Two rather, has only got their annual releases in those couple of sports games, which are flatlining. Jesus, that's looking like a really good deal now. Because
Well,
that solves.
I don't want to say that this was true or not, but I think certain folks that worked for Gearbox were always insinuating for years now that a Borderlands 4 might have been being worked on this whole time. Me being the Borderlands fan that I am, I would really hope that that's the game we see them announce. Take-Two has said they're going to make a big announcement this summer on beloved franchises that they own. I'm hoping it's that. I see other people hoping for other things, but I'm hoping for a Borderlands 4. And I hope they make it a little...
BioShock?
Well, BioShock, maybe if they want to go head-to-head with Ken Levine and Judas for 25. I mean...
Why not both?
Well, both
That's
is fine, but man, I'll tell you, being the BioShock fan that I am and the Ken Levine fan that I am, Judas is day one. Judas is day one. It's day 0, actually. The sooner I can get my hands on that, the more I'm going to play it. But I got to be honest with you, it kind of breaks my heart that he's not involved with BioShock. I would love to have seen where his creative genius would have taken that game. It's already taken us through all sorts of different realms. I'd like to welcome the great Detective Seeds to the show. Seeds, I hope that you're feeling better and you're hydrated.
I am currently drinking water and electrolytes. Not feeling better, but still want to come in. I can't believe no one mentioned Mafia 4.
Oh, that was the other one I had written down. I'm sorry. Yep, Mafia 4.
But give me Mafia 4, man.
Oh, Detective Seeds is here, huh?
What's up, brother?
Talk your shit now with the faces. Go ahead. Hey, a lot of talking on Twitter. I didn't see you after that.
We had to blow you guys out. You blow us out. Now you guys are coming back to Indiana tomorrow. We're going to welcome you with open arms.
That's it. And you're gonna watch us celebrate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
I'm sorry for hijacking the show, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sports.
Hey, I gotta go. I'm sorry,
David. Thank you.
I got a meeting coming up.
David, I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry I did hijack you from your work and your bread and butter, so I apologize. But David, it's always great to have you here. Thanks for being here tonight, buddy.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Good chat, good panel. Enjoy Hellblade 2.
Yes. Great way. What an exit. That's a great... Enjoy Hellblade 2. I'm out. David, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. The great Detective Seeds is here. So I'll kind of... I'm going to go to P-Rock here, and then Seeds, I'll go up to you because I want to get a couple of thoughts on you on a few topics here. But P-Rock, since David mentioned it, I was going to wait till later. Real quick, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because really the jury's out. We don't know. But P-Rock, I think on 60 Frames, I was watching, I think you went a little off on this, or maybe it was on Twitter, I saw you going off on it. You were, I think, fairly positive on PlayStation, or I should say Sony's approach in putting 2 CEOs in charge here for and I just want Herman Hulst, and I'm going to say it wrong, Hideki Nishino, and Nishino will lead the platform, and Hulst will lead the studio side. P-Rock, you're just always opinionated when it comes to leadership, and I think you gave this a thumbs up. I mean, it's preliminary. You're not being held to it. What do you think when you saw this?
I think it's a good move, personally. Sometimes, and maybe it's because it's the military background in me, right? Like, one person can't be the decision maker for everything, right? Even generals have their deputy generals and commanding officers, right, where the general just says, hey, this is my overall guidance. I need you guys to make decisions based on my overall guidance. As long as you meet my overall goal, make these decisions. And that's how we make decisions quickly on the battlefield or in a competitive environment, right? We can't wait for the general to say yes to everything. We're going to lose.
Yeah, exactly. You can't wait on, exactly.
I think, especially when Jim Ryan talked about, how exhausting being the CEO of PlayStation was. Like every other week, he's flying from one continent to another continent, back to another continent, back and forth, right? I think PlayStation's at the point where it's too big for one person to make decisions, right? So I like this move in the sense that you got one person, especially we'll use Hulse, who's controlling the first party side of things and the IP creation, talking with, studios for movies, merchandise, whatever. But more importantly, him being experienced in game development. What I really like, it was his studio that knows how to go from, all right, you're doing okay, but now it's time to elevate ourselves, because he went from, Shell Shock to Killzone to now his big IP Horizon, right? So he has a fundamental idea of how to help studios elevate, right? So I like that. But while he's working on that, someone else is focusing on the future technologies for hardware, third-party relations, PlayStation Network, and all that other stuff, right? So one person, like everything's not hinging on one person. Be like, hey, you need to come to Europe because we need to talk about third-party and PlayStation Network. All right, I'll fly out there next week.
Right.
Or catch me on a Teams call. No, you need to come back because, Naughty Dog and these people, they need, all right, I'll see these guys in 3 days. Let me get back on the plane. That's no longer a thing, a situation. The good part is that since they're both CEOs, one doesn't need permission from the other. They go straight to the higher ups, right? So whatever decision Hulse has with his first party, what's the other person? Nishino?
Yes.
Correct.
Nishino, you don't need Nishino's permission or anything like that, right? No, there's nothing holding up. So that tempo of decision making, getting stuff ready, making decisions, the direction going forward is a lot faster. It's a lot quicker. They can both, they both split the responsibilities. And I think PlayStation probably gotten that point that to continue the growth of the brand, it needs more decision makers, right? They needed to split the responsibility. The only concern I have, and we talked about this 60 Frames Don't Like podcast, is when it comes time for the PlayStation 6 or any future iteration of hardware, right?
Yeah. Because
there was a time from the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, it was a hardware-centric team. They designed it, they built it, and once they built it, hey, first party, figure it out. And the first party is like, what the hell is this, right? PlayStation 3 was the feather that tipped the scale where they say, all right, we're done with this, enough. They contracted Sony. They're like, hey, we want to go a different direction. We want more of a software developer-minded console where they put the input and the hardware team builds what the software team wants, right? And it worked beautifully, right? With the PS4 and now with the PS5. But now that the hardware is under Nishino, but the first party is under Hulse, that's when they have to join together and come to terms, right? Because the responsibility of technology falls under Nishino, he's the CEO, but the people who are going to use the technology falls under Herman Hulse. Mm-hmm. So that's where the collaboration, the coordination, they definitely need to meet in the middle. And I think the scale needs to be tipped. Let's say if it's a 50-50 split, but the scale has to be tipped in someone's favor.
Yeah.
I would like it to be in Herman Hulse's favor.
Yes.
Where 60-40, the developers get what they want. Because at the end of the day, those are the ones who's going to use it. It doesn't matter if the hardware team thinks they could build the world's most powerful console.
Yep.
If the developers can't actually do it, if the tools and stuff don't make it work, then you're not going to achieve the perceived specs. So I think that's where the only concern I have is the technology and hardware and how it's integrated and how much influence the first party has. So I would like to think they're professional, and I hope CEO Nishino says, hey, even though I'm responsible for the hardware size, I know you guys are the experts. We're going to follow your lead. On my side of the house, we'll deal with whatever we got to deal with in terms of funding, finance, how much money we have. We'll work that out. But to me, that's the only concern I have is that where them two interconnect, right? But one point I want to make, and this is the interesting point, right? Like all eyes are on hers. I think we all can agree on that, right?
Yes.
Because it's all about the games, right?
Yep.
It's all about the first party games.
Yep.
Are we ever going to go through, is he going to ensure that every generation we're going to have games up front at launch? will he make the same? I think when Jim Ryan went too hard with gas, I think that was a mistake. So will Herman Holtz be a better decision maker to ensure we have games? Will he improve the studio so that way they not only make AAA games, but they can also release a few AA games, you know? So that we're not waiting for one game a generation or maybe 1.5 games a generation, right?
Yes.
So I know all eyes is on him. But the thing is, though, Nishino, he's the one with the money. Because if you look at the segment he controls as CEO, that's where the money is. Third-party revenue, money transaction, PlayStation subscriptions, and hardware sales. I'm sorry, but first-party revenue doesn't compete with that. It's a fraction of that. Mm-hmm. So all the money behind the brand is in Nishino's hands. He controls the money. PSN networks of subscription services, third-party sales, and the number one source of revenue for PlayStation, money transaction, that's all him. That's all his side of the house. PlayStation first party don't drive in money like that. They're just a small fraction of the overall pie.
I agree.
So I'm just interested
P-Rock,
that he wields the money overall.
Yeah. Listen, as far as money that comes in from the two respected CEOs, you're on. You're spot on. I don't necessarily think it's like what I get's mine and what you get's yours. So yes, that money is coming in on that front, but it's like, you know, it's like any other thing, right? Any other business. You use this money here to build up other parts of your business. So whether that be some on the hardware or some as far as accessories or as far as internal games. Right. So it's not...
Absolutely. But here's the thing, though. Usually it's one guy. You see what I'm saying? There's one guy that does that.
But there was
the
one
CEO. But now you got two. And one doesn't overpower the other. They're both equal, and they only report to the guy up top.
Right.
They look up. They don't look left or right. They look up.
They look up.
So that's what I'm saying is interesting. Like, I know they're going to be professional, but still, you know, sometimes this to me, it's a new thing for them. I think it's good, but there's going to be kinks along the way. They're going to realize, I'm sure, like over the next year or two, they're going to be like, oh, we never considered this. So now we have to come up with a new policy, a new process, or a new decision-making, you know, tool or something to help us formulate this out. Because like you said, overall, the overall structure and funding, it will be one guy to allocate the money, the source, hey, put it towards this, hey, the money we made here, put it over here, blah, 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 and all that stuff, right? But now you got two CEOs and one doesn't override the other.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure I ain't gonna say bump heads, but they will come to a crossroad where they're gonna be like, oh, snap, hey, I need money for these first party. And then she was like, oh, damn.
You know, the one thing that you said...
I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but let me put it this way. I hope a scenario doesn't come across where Holtz is like, hey, I need some money for this side. Traditionally, we get it from this. And Nishino's like, damn, I already obligated that money for this new technology we were about to do here. And Holtz is like, what new technology? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, we're going to go AR, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, you didn't tell me this? Like, when was this going to happen? You know, I'm hoping that don't happen. I'm hoping they're very in sync. They're very in tune. So that way they could balance the budget. They could obligate the money. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, at the end of the day, you have two controllers.
Well, these corporations, I'll just chime in real quick because I work for a very large corporation. There's checks and balances. So when you have two CEOs, like the company I work for, we have multiple CEOs of different products, different over different regions, different categories, things. There's always a deciding vote. So if you have two CEOs, you're going to have a deciding vote where funds are spent. So when you have Holtz, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the other guy's name, as the two CEOs, you're going to have somebody that has a deciding vote, maybe even three additional people, so that when they bring it up to a vote, they're going to be able to decide where that money's allocated. So I think it's a good point to bring it up in terms of like what they're assigned over, but when it comes to the actual money allocation, I don't really have a concern over that because the corporations of these sizes, they do have a pretty good way of checks and balances to prevent that infighting with each other. When it comes to that, they'll have a presentation that's made generally to like the board or depending on how big of an investment it's going to be. Typical like capital investments, some companies, they $5 million they have to take forever board, but Sony's obviously a lot more than, or PlayStation's a lot more than that. But they will have some sort of board that does the checks and balances for these two guys to where one can't do that. And so when it comes to that, I don't think they'll be able to even have the ability to do infighting because of that checks and balances that PlayStation and Sony has in place.
Well, don't forget now, if you just to add to what P-Rock said, Nishino's going to have it easy, right, P-Rock? Because he's going to get all the Xbox games coming over. All right, so that's happening. All right, yeah, I thought we'd throw that out there.
Third-party relations.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
But yeah, so anybody else want to comment on the dual CEOs, Mr. Badbit?
Yeah,
I know you're a very corporate man yourself. You're probably wearing a suit right now.
Of course, even pants. Can you believe that?
Well, pants always beats no pants, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Keeping it classy. No, it just goes to show the size of what Sony is PlayStation's grown, right? Where
it's a good point. Yeah,
they are taking a look at the broader future of what PlayStation is going to be. This is where I start getting the boos. That means beyond the console. That means your mobile. That means your PC. It means how do we grow the brand that is just it's more than just a singular option. It is all these options that are tied together in synchronicity, right? So like you saw it today with the Ghost of Tsushima launch, which looks like it launched pretty smooth on PC, knock on wood, from what I've seen. And you're seeing the integration with PSN with that game as the first game that has it at launch. And that is just the first baby step in what is going to be the future of PlayStation. That's what Nishino is out there trying to create. Because, we talked a little bit about it on the trophy room this week. But when we talk about like how the market is shaping up, I think PlayStation definitely looks at avenues of which is like, PC and mobile as the true competitors, as it were, in that space as they try to navigate how they grow the console market, but also how they grow their presence in other markets. So that's where probably Nishino's big brains being headed at there. When it comes to like, the what happens with the next console, collaboration, one would assume. And so, like, to me, I'm not too concerned about that, because if I'm thinking that, well, then the guys that are getting paid six figures are thinking that too. They probably, hopefully, they got the answers. So, when it comes to Herman's position, something I talked about a little earlier, which is he's in this position. First off, they're both reporting to Hiroki Totoki, the COO of Sony Interactive, or sorry, Sony Corp. So, they have a boss that his words back in March were just like, hey, our margins are shit. We gotta we gotta improve these margins.
Yeah.
We need to see these, we need to see growth, because every company is very much interested in that. And we need to see these margins improve, because look, it's no secret. You see it in every little, Excel sheet they share. PlayStation may make a ton of money, but they also spend a ton. So,
absolutely.
Hiroki Totoki, I think was in the right mindset when he's like, hey, how about let me promote the guy that works on the first party stuff and give him more power, leverage to help make that pipeline better, because I'm just a numbers guy. I have no idea how these pipelines work and what's going to be efficient down the line. I think Herman and his roots at Guerrilla, as they're a very collaborative studio, works really well with collaboration and hopefully, making sure that we're finding some ways of how we can improve efficiency across the board over at the PlayStation studios. But to say what Dave echoed, we talked about Xbox getting rid of more studios. Expect that here, guys. Layoffs happen in rounds. It's not like it's like, all right, so 900 people left on March. That's it. Nope. There's going to be more inefficiencies they're going to look for. And we have to be prepared for that as gamers, as we are bracing for what is probably the most turbulent time, at least in the AAA space, since mid 80s, early 90s. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year for PlayStation. I'm hopeful. I think a lot of what we saw in those reports, I looked at it going, oh wow, I was expecting a lot worse. And what I got was, yeah, it seems like everything's fine. They really just want to improve the budget, the margins, and again, I think they really want to expand into other markets. I mean, and it's not even I think they want to do that. They're saying it out loud. PC and mobile is something that they want to tap into.
I think you're right on that. I don't know. The question I thought P-Rock was going to ask, he was kind of alluding to it, is just if they'll stay with their traditional model right now with these two CEOs. I think for this for the time now, did you say no, Mr. Babbitt?
No, they're going to change. Just like how Jim tried to change the company with the games as service approach.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, again, the market is changing and evolving, and they have to find what the right path is for them in the next 5 to 10 years.
That's the key thing, Mr. Badbit, is what you said there at the end, that latter part of your sentence. They have to find what works for them. And I think that's the key thing that a lot of people should probably take away from this conversation is a lot of people say, oh, well, they're just going to follow this company or they're just going to follow that company. Not necessarily. No. Not necessarily. They will. Everybody makes a change. You have to grow with the times. You have to grow with technology. But it doesn't mean that you're going to literally shadow another team's plan precisely. And I don't think that they will. I think that they will do things that are different from the PS4 generation as they go into the PS6 generation. Absolutely.
Because the thing is that, again, the box is still important to them.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And the thing is they're like, how do we... I think the question they're probably asking is like, how do we expand from the box while still making the box integral to the experience? Like, how do we tie everything back to the PS5? I think those are the questions that they're trying to ask.
Yep.
But if I'm a shareholder and I just took a look at, oh shoot, the fastest selling game in PlayStation history is Helldivers 2, and the vast majority of sales are on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, but you have to look at the game. There's more than that's the thing. We always kind of deem some of these investors like they don't have multiple degrees. I think they understand when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, they look at how an item sells and why a certain product sells. Right. So you have a situation, just to counter your point. I see where you're going, Mr. Badbit. But you have Ghost of Tsushima is number 1 today in the Steam charts. Correct. Number 1. I thought I saw 57,000 concurrent users as of mid-afternoon. So if I'm sitting there, if I'm absolutely very good game. If I'm sitting back and I'm Sony, I'm like, well, why would I change anything? I'm still number 1 in the PC market today on launch, and I absolutely got every single penny out of the PlayStation 4 with this game, the PlayStation 5, the director's cut, and so on and so on.
Oh,
so
I think
I don't necessarily think that they would want they can still have their cake and eat it too. We've been saying this for a very long time. You got to remember, Mr. Badbit, if you have the number 1 restaurant or the number 1 club in New York City, if people want to come in and you're charging an absurd $50 to walk in, right, which is absurd.
That's right.
If you want to go in and listen to the DJs you have booked and have the drinks that are only made at your place and the recipes that are only made on your menu, they have to pay the $50. And anybody that's in business realizes when they have a product worth that kind of value, they will continue to do that. When you go to put these items day and date and put them everywhere, we saw what happened with the plan from Xbox. It devalued one product. Now, Microsoft doesn't care because Microsoft cares about software. Yep. So their games being day and date everywhere only works best for them. That's outstanding. If you have a PC, you have Windows. If you have, you know what I'm saying? If you have an Xbox, well, they own that. They don't care where you play. PlayStation doesn't own Windows. PlayStation doesn't own anything on PC currently.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. I think Microsoft cares about the software because not to throw jabs, but their hardware ain't doing great. So with like that infused cash with Activision,
well, it's not doing. But why?
Oh my God!
But Mr. Badbit, but Mr. Badbit, why isn't it doing well? It's not because the hardware's bad. The hardware's fine.
Real talk. Again, I don't want to be mean. You know me.
No, you're Mr. Positivity, Mr. Badbit.
I'm going to try to bleep this out, and if it bleeps, great. If it doesn't, what the fuck is there to play on it? Did it bleep? I hope
it bleeped. It was
like
perfect. It was
real
perfect.
talk. I think that's the true. I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like Halo came out a year late, right? There was a whole vast year of nothingness. Not even like in terms of like second party help. I think that is detrimental to that brand more than anything. Was just how late it started to actually look. We're talking right now. It's like, is this finally the time things start ramping up? I hope, but I think that's the biggest problem with Xbox.
Yeah.
I think if I'm Sony, I'm thinking, hey, how do I get more of these games out on PC because they're doing really great, and how do I lessen the window so that I don't have to wait, 4+ years to get, a Ghost of Tsushima on PC. And I think that is probably where Sony's at right now. It's like, hey, how can I put what games make sense on an iPhone? What can I put there?
Right,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
those types of questions.
It's interesting you say that, because it kind of point to what Mooch was saying. Yes, Ghost of Tsushima is number 1 right now.
Yeah.
Give it a week. Not even that. It's going to drop down the charts. And
Sure.
Oh, like Starfield.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
if you're after growth on PC, which is what they want, a 4-year-old game, yeah, it's gonna you spent nothing. You would have made whatever you made, but you're not gonna grasp the Steam community with a 4-year-old game. They're not gonna. They're gonna be like, whatever, cool, I'll buy it on sale or whatever. Half the time. So Helldivers 2 was the prime example. That was to show Sony, hey, PC players are actually messing with our game day and day, and it's doing fantastic numbers. But if they release, because all the games they've released so far are old games for the most part.
Correct.
Now, if you go day and date, you would actually train them to want to buy your games, because there is a whole bunch in the Steam community and in PC in general who will never buy a console. Never in a million years. You could put it in front of them and they'll tell you to go out the next door.
Right.
And hope it hits you on the way out. So how do you get these gamers? Well, 4-year-old games ain't gonna get clamoring going, it's a Sony game, it came out 4 years ago. No, that's not gonna inspire anyone. So you need to make sure you get them day and date and throw it in their face, and they will respond in kind and buy a game. So that's why I think they will go the day and date eventually, because that's how they'll get the most money and most market share.
Here's the thing, Singer, and I know that some people are going to say...
I don't think that day's anytime soon. I try to tell people...
I don't either.
Like, for example, I think right now what PlayStation tries to do with the PC audience is like, hey guys, look at all these cool PC enhancements that we have. You got it like extra wide. You got the stupid 490 card. It's running 80 frames per second, 4K. Look at all this. Like, that's what they're trying to... That's how they try to entice you. I think they want to, no doubt, they would want to shorten the window. I don't see at the very point in time them saying, we need day and date.
No.
They're not at that point.
No. Here's the caveat to that. They'll do it next generation. They're not going to do it this generation. They'll do it next generation, because the budgets are going to keep going up, I do believe, and everything's going to cost more and more money. So they'll more and more want to get that revenue off PC, because that's money sat there. Why wouldn't you go after that money? It's sat there waiting for you. It's asking
because you don't really... Singer, one thing that you guys... I don't understand why this is so hard to see, though, and don't get me wrong, because what you're saying, I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're shooting yourself in the foot. Not you yourself, Singer, but the example. Yes, that money's sitting there, right? So they get that money, but they lose all the console money. And when the consoles aren't there, they don't buy the headsets, and they don't buy the controllers, and they don't buy the portals, and they don't buy the VRs, and they don't buy... So, yes, they make some on that they're missing, but they're not really missing all that you're saying. Let's say that money you're talking about, yes, a year later, 2 years later, when it comes out on PC, maybe they only make half, 3/4 of that money. But they still make PC money. But what they do is they keep the existence of the console, which I understand for PC players, you guys don't care. I get that. I'm not even disputing that. I'm saying to you, that's money they're making over there that would immediately, and if you don't believe me, Xbox has the blueprint. Take a look. They're actually doing worse this generation than the Xbox One generation, which Nobody, even in Vegas, would have given you odds on that. And it's because they went day and date. They just did. You don't need a console.
Let me say this.
And
I'm gonna say
it
this.
hurt them. It hurt them bad.
I'm not gonna argue if they're not gonna go day and date because I learned Sony's.
I didn't say they're not. Right? I said I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah. So I would just say here are the things. So to Death Singer, going day and date is not. You act like it's a flip and a switch. If you add PC to day and date, it now becomes the same priority as your console. That means you better beef up your studios, right? Your budget allocation and your timelines now have to all be met, right? Because now you have to follow. It's no longer let me put it this way. Even Rockstar doesn't do what you're saying. GTA 6 is not going day and date on PC for a reason, right? Because it's not easy. It's work. It's not free. Like I get the whole idea of trying to make more money on PC, but you guys act like it's free. It's not free. You have to invest in that. The reason why it's taking 2 years or whatever to port these games is because the main studio is getting assistance from like Nix's and all these studios who are designed to help port the games to PC. But Nix's can't take on 10 games at once. That's why it's taking long, right? But what you're saying is for Sony to strategize all their studios to now focus on PC as well. And now the console and PC is the same thing, which means now the budget allocations, the time, the personnel resources, all has to be equal across these two platforms. And we've seen it didn't work for Microsoft. Microsoft is a case file. Day and day PC did not help Xbox. It didn't. It did not. That's a fact. That's not even an argument. It didn't help. It didn't help with quality, with bigger games, with game sales, like across the board. Day and date on PC did nothing. You can argue it made it worse because even diehard Xbox fans left Xbox consoles because they're thinking, well, if I'm going to deal with what Xbox is doing, I might as well brute force the best quality games with a 4090 or 4080. At least the hardware can brute force these games into the performance and whatever, right? But I'm not arguing that Sony's not going to do it. They're going to do what they're going to do, but let's not pretend it's an easy task, right? Now, here's the thing. One last thing. A big reason Microsoft made this push because they were failing at their main business. Everybody got to remember, and I know we argue it's all about the games. It is true, we argue, but let's not forget when you have a console, what business you're in. The business is marketplace. That's who PlayStation is. PlayStation is a marketplace. It is not a first-party publisher. It's not. All right. Everybody needs to have that. The boys, with Homelander moment. Where he thought that, Vault was a superhero company and he's the face. Well, the CEO had to put his bitch ass down and says, no, bitch, we're a pharmaceutical company. Don't you ever forget about that. You are not the product. Compound B is the main product. The marketplace is the product. The money, again, I just said this earlier, right? The first party sales is a fraction of the overall money they drive in. The number one source of revenue for PlayStation is money transactions, and it's not from their first party games. And you can't get that money from PC. They can't get Fortnite money from PC. You can only get Fortnite money on the PlayStation 5. You know what I'm saying? No PlayStation 5, no PlayStation 6 means no more Fortnite money. No more Call of Duty money. No more Apex money. All that shit is gone. Gone. And that's more money than any first party can make, right? The 30% they cut from third party, when you look at I think the year Spider-Man and God of War came out, right? Mm-hmm. When they showed the overall game sales, right? The first party sales at its biggest made 20% of the overall software revenue. Mm-hmm. So even when you have games like God of War and Spider-Man and everything releasing the same year, at best you might make up 20, which is impressive because you're talking maybe 3 or 4 or 5 games bringing in 20% of the sales revenue. Absolutely impressive. But the end all be all is the third party where 80%. That's where the money is, right? Because Sony is Steam. Valve is making more money than they ever did, and they don't make games. You're not getting another Half-Life. There's no money in that. There's no money in making another Portal. There's no money in making another Half-Life. There's money in selling other people's work through their store. That's why Valve is making more money than they ever did. And then they don't care to make another. Why? It's pointless. Yeah. So remember, Sony PlayStation is a marketplace. That's the business they're in. Their primary business is marketplace, and it only works if you go through their console, right? And I think people are confusing PlayStation with Microsoft. Microsoft, they failed at being a marketplace. So they're slowly transitioning to the next best thing, which is be a worldwide largest publisher.
Yeah.
Because they don't have other choice. It's either that or just don't stay in gaming. Just might as well just quit.
Counterpoint to that is, right, Sony can only do so much in the console space. They have no competition. Xbox is failing, right? They already have the majority of your Fortnite gamers. And the majority of people on console will never get a PC in their life. So now you have two separate markets, two different gamers. So you sell to the console guys. And a lot of those guys who own the PS5s won't go out and buy a PC. Now you have a lot of the PC guys who would never buy a console. Mm-hmm. So you would want to go over there and go, here's the game. Thing is, they wouldn't buy a PS5 anyway. So that copy you just sold, day and date, is money that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And you can only sell so much consoles.
But they're going to buy it.
If I may just stop you there, Dessinger. Your points are built off assumptions. We're assuming that most PlayStation gamers would not buy a PC if, games were non-exclusive, right? Like, we're assuming that PC players don't ever want to play on a PlayStation. We're not, I could assume a lot of things. What I think is important here is what Porter Rock did say. Like, let's give him some credit here, which is
the crazy part is where they get their money. Yeah, we've seen Xbox guys buying PCs. I swore they don't buy. That's why I don't understand that Singer. We're seeing it. Right. We're seeing content creators who built their channels on the console. Now they're playing on their channel as a content creator with PC, and they were an Xbox console content creator. So I don't understand why people have this allegiance. People could change.
Yeah, anecdotally, I have a few of these Gen Alpha kids that I supervise at work. They make me sick. They say things I don't know what they're talking about anymore. I don't even know. They even walk funny now. I hate them. But what they're they had a PS4, right, or and an Xbox. They're both on PC now. They just don't care about they're switching to whatever is suiting them. And he's very excited for Ghost of Tsushima, and he said something so idiotic to me the other day, which was just like, "Hey man, I'm so excited for Ghost ultra wide. I started a little bit on PS4 because I'm just very excited." I'm like, well, why did what? So the point is that these people are changing. The demographics are changing in terms of how people are consuming content and consuming games. And so if you're seeing generations of kids or people coming up going, yeah, I'm actually more familiar with touchscreen controls than a controller. It boggles my mind. It doesn't to them. Right. So that's where Nishino comes in, where it's like, hey, how do I build a platform that could facilitate all these people and get them on our side? That's why you're I've been a big proponent of this on the trophy room as well. It's you got to probably see a mobile PlayStation thing, like a Portal 2 that's not cloud, that you can actually play natively. Right. I think that is definitely a thing that's gonna happen in the near future. A broadening of the PlayStation app. There's so many things that Nishino could do, pie in the sky things that get me very excited, but can reach out to the younger generation. It's not so much necessarily day and date is the option that's gonna fix everything, because what Porter Rock said, it's not even the majority of where they make their money. So if I'm PlayStation, the question is, hey Herman, how do I get my pipeline looking better? How do I get these games to PC faster, so that I don't have to wait years for, Ragnarok? Maybe I'm waiting a year, maybe two, right? Maybe I'm not waiting all too long when, Spider-Man comes to PC. It's just not day and date, because at the end of the day, that box is still important to PlayStation. Why? Because the majority of where they get their money is from the microtransactions they get for the big six, right? Your Fortnite, your Minecraft, your whatever have you. So it may seem like a necessity. What's that?
Here's my thing. I would just say this. So again, I'm not gonna say they're not gonna do it, because Destiny could absolutely be right. We don't really know. But from my perspective is this: if they make that decision, right, that they're going to do day-and-day PC, they clearly have to invest in their studios. They're going to have to get, more developers to handle the task. Like, they can't do it with what they have now.
Like, when they talk about, like, level-headed acquisitions, like, it's not like, I don't see them walking up to, Square's door and knocking on it. You're going to see them go, hey, how do we infuse Nixus with more cash? Is there a PC port house that, like, is really talented that we could pick up and make that streamlined more? Yeah.
So that, or they just hire more people to beef up Naughty Dog, to beef up Sony Santa Monica, so that way they could take on the workload of making games day and day at the same time, right? Because that's what they did with San Diego Studio. San Diego Studio tripled in size, but that's because they got the task to make Xbox and Switch games, right?
And that's because they unlike any of them, they have a year dev cycle.
Yeah. So here's my thing. The reason why for me, I don't like the day and day PC is because you're investing a lot more, but you're not going to get more games.
Yeah.
They're just investing to port the projects, right? I want Sony to invest in their studios so they can make more games. Because right now, when you look at the way things are, these studios are only making one, maybe two AAA games per generation. And that second AAA game might be a cross-gen with the next platform. They're not making a lot of games. The days of making 3, 4, 5 games per gen by a studio, unless they do something like get into double A's and stuff like that, like it's 2024 and we got nothing for Sony Bend. And their last game was 19?
19, yeah.
We got nothing. We can't keep doing this. We have a whole studio, and let's say they do. Let's say, but Prototype, they're working on something cool. So they release a game in 2025. Let's say it's fantastic. Let's say it's game of the year. Whatever they create is fantastic. Mm-hmm. When's their next game? 2029? 2030? Mm-hmm. Is it a cross-gen with the PS6? You can't do that. One game for a whole generation? That's ridiculous. Yeah. You can't have a studio with one game per generation, or maybe 1.5. And what I mean by half is it's a cross-gen game. That's the better versions on the... No! If you're going to invest, you got to fix that first. And the reason why I say that needs to be the focus, because you're paying customers are buying your console. Like buying a $500 console and one of your studios only made one game in 8 years? Come on, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely asinine.
And we got Uncharted 1 through 3 in a generation, and that's like one of the problems that we're entering into. It's like, hey, what do gamers really care about? Do we care about seeing every single pore on Ellie's face, or do we want to make a really great narrative? And
that's a good point too, Mr. Babbitt, because that was one of the things that they're going to I think that's some of the scaling back you're going to see where, and I'm using Neil as just an example, we're seeing some of the footage on screen, like you said, how many different mocap takes did they take, and this and that, and getting it just right. And don't get me wrong, we as gamers definitely sit here and say we appreciate that, and wow, I can see the difference, but that costs money. Take after take after take with these voice actors, time, film. I mean, it's a lot, and it's just like that's what I think you're going to see some of that scale back. That's part of that difference we're going to see in that budgeting that I think Porter Rock was talking about earlier with the two different.
So in
CEOs.
The chat, people saying Rockstar didn't sell me a console. Who here playing the Rockstar console? Who here paid $500 for the Rockstar box?
Well, why did they mention Rockstar?
That's what I'm saying. This is third party. Third party has nothing to do with how many games need to be made on the platform. It's the platform provider. Sony made the console. They have their own first party. They're the number one responsibility to create the content on this stuff. Rockstar, they only worry about themselves. They have no obligation to make 10 games. Would I like Rockstar to go back to those days?
Oh, they're saying
no. I would love that.
Okay, so some of the people in the chat are arguing because it's taking forever to make GTA 6.
Well, GTA 5 has made them
guys.
That's right, Bomber. Yeah.
But the main thing is they didn't sell a console though, so they have no responsibility. They could skip a whole gen if they want.
But of course, Take-Two as a whole, just like what's the name was saying earlier, is that they're in the hole.
Yeah. And it's also let's not pretend. I'll argue with the chat. What do you guys think? Who do you think you guys are? Let me tell you something. They're all doubling down on an awful bet. They're all like, we need to make bigger games. Like what Square was, I think it was Square this week. It's
like bigger games that take even longer.
Yeah. It's like what are you guys doing? What have you guys learned? Absolutely jack shit. So it's like, you know, just because like company A does it doesn't mean company B should.
And
like,
I know this will get shit on, and that's fine. But look at
Let's do it,
Microsoft.
Palmer.
What did they do? They went and bought a whole bunch of people.
Died.
They bought a whole bunch of studios because they knew their 6 studios they only had wasn't doing shit.
Yeah.
So they had to go buy so they would have. Because they saw the forecast.
It's not as simple as like, we'll just make a studio.
No,
okay,
exactly. Look at what they did.
Have you seen My Friend Initiative? Yeah,
exactly. What did they do? Oh, they had to get Crystal Dynamics to come out and actually do their game. So,
Exactly.
and then that's even going to be a thing. We still don't know. So it's just the funny part is you got everybody's going to do their own thing, which is fine. Sony is doing well and has done well. They're going to be fine. Is there going to be some changes? Just like Portal Rock said, just like what Joe said, absolutely. They're going to have to. They have to go away from the mindset of Jim Ryan. I think they're going to appease the players in some way. They're going to have to. They're going to, like you said, they're going to have to start bringing out more games. What that mean? Well, they're going to have to get more studios.
Remember that they've also said that they want to be developing multiple games at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Naughty Dog has come out and said this. Some other third-party studios, I know FromSoft has said this. RGG Studio, in between their big AAA games, they want to be developing smaller AA games in between.
We saw with Insomniac. Great point, Kami. And that's the other problem that we're seeing. It's like, how do we foster talent and creativity within a studio when it's just like, hey, we're making a single game for the next 7 years. Hope you like it. You know, and how do we grow someone to be the next Neil, to be the next whoever your favorite Miyazaki's son? Why are we talking about anybody else but him?
Oh, good point. Great point.
But yeah, he did it. He let someone else direct Sekiro.
Exactly, and they helped then with Elden Ring. So it's like, you know, they need to start fostering more creative talent as well. So yeah. Kami, great point. It's like making smaller games in between the big games, having your studios handle multiple things at once, and maybe that's where Herman Hulst comes in to help guide those teams and those studios, like, you know, giving Naughty Dog producers. Hopefully that helps somewhere along the line. But you know,
maybe that does also come with a little bit of a scaling back.
Sure.
Because if you're going to release more frequent games, maybe they're not as big as, you know, if you take 8-9 years.
Yeah, that's why when I see people shit on like Hellblade 2, it's like it's only 8 hours. I'm like, dude, I have a full-time job, and when I get home, I'm tired.
No, yeah, I don't.
I love shorter games.
I know. Give me something that's 20 hours.
I don't think critiquing a game for its hours, especially now. That's one of the topics I had.
Rush, come on.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't think when it comes down to it nowadays, there's so many games out there. There's enough of them out there that are taking 100, 200 plus hours of our time. Some 80, 75. Those are on the high side as well. So when you get into these games that are between 8, maybe 15, 25, or 30 max, those are welcomed by a lot of gamers these days. I really do think so with scheduling and all these other games. So, I mean, Kami, I want to ask you, you just had the mic, and I want to see your take on this. I was going to start off with this. It's kind of the meat and potatoes here. And we still have 547 people here, guys. Please hit the like button. Let everybody know that you're here and we're live. Kami, what do you think of the reports that came out in the whole, the largest franchise titles possibly from Xbox making their way to PlayStation, or as we like to call it now, codename Latitude? Not sure we needed a code name for it, Kami, but we got one.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of obvious. It's not really surprising to me. I'll be honest, at first, when they first announced this, I thought at least like Halo, Forza, those would at least remain Xbox exclusive. But, you know, the more I hear from them, the more they announce things, it feels like, you know, sooner or later we are going to see those core Xbox titles make their way to PlayStation. It might not be, you know, this generation. It might be 5 to 10 years from now, but to me, it feels like Microsoft is all in on third party. So it's not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah, this is the path they walk. I've been listening to a lot of Xbox folks share their thoughts about this. Been listening to, was it Xbox 2? Last week, hearing Jez talk about what he feels like is the faults at hand, and I tend to agree with him here, where it's I think someone I think Phil and Co. flew too close to the sun when it came to buying Activision. I think they saw the opportunity and went, "Oh my God, time to buy right now, right here, right now." And I don't think the thought was fully realized until maybe halfway through this process, where it's like, and I think we also as gamers ask the wrong questions, where it's like, "Oh, that means all these studios get freed from Call of Duty." It's like, no, it's actually about like doubling down on Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So it seems
One
like
thing I'll say.
Yeah, go Kami, please.
One thing I'll say as well is, I've seen Phil Spencer, Matt Booty getting a lot of hate. To me, this feels like something that's coming down from Microsoft. This does not seem like...
Absolutely.
This seems like the decisions of an outsider, someone who's not really involved in the gaming world. So, at the end of the day, Phil Spencer is the face of Xbox, so he deserves some responsibility. But, if Satya Nadella is telling you got to make all your games first party, you got to double down on Call of Duty, there's not really much you can do.
Yeah.
And they do want to see return on that investment.
It's funny. They originally, a lot of people were running with the original headlines of you don't spend $70 billion and then not make it exclusive. When you actually stop to look at the numbers right now, especially with after David read some of the financials, you actually, it's the complete opposite. After spending $70 billion, you cannot put it on a console exclusively that only is has roughly whatever they were saying, 23 to, the numbers are estimates, 23, let's go to 25 million consoles out there. Yes, PC's already out there. You don't want to miss out on that right now, just about 60 million PS5s out there. So, and that's going to continue to grow. It really was just kind of the opposite. But that is interesting. Now, the only thing I will say, just it's not all rainbows on the PlayStation side. I would say the one thing I would say that kind of bugs me about this is when you are seeing how Xbox games are doing really well on PlayStation, and that's fine. Good for Microsoft, by the way. But I don't want this to make PlayStation complacent, right? Where they go, well, listen, what our customers care about is having new games on our platform. That goes for games like having Rise of the Ronin, having deals with Stellar Blade, having things like Forspoken, having things like Final Fantasy, having those types of games and those relationships with those developers and those publishers are very, very important. But, do you guys feel, and I'll go to Bomber. Bomber, do you think that this is actually will this take PlayStation's foot off the gas a little if now you're seeing the Gears of War collection come down, the road, and you're seeing maybe Fable? I'm not saying day and date on any of these, by the way, guys. I think Xbox should do the same thing. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, by the way. I would tell Xbox to do the same thing. You release your games on Xbox first, and PlayStation 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line. That's up to them. I have a weird suspicion, especially after hearing Kami's thoughts, that eventually they may go day and date. But I think that they should be on Xbox first. But what do you think, Bomber?
I don't think Sony. I don't know. I'm one that feels like Sony's going to be fine. Well, whatever they do.
But I'm worried about us. I'm talking about the gamers. Are we going to get games?
Are we going to get games? I still think we're definitely going to get games. Are they going to be bigger in scale or we won't know until we start seeing the fruits of the labor of this whole change. And of course, you won't see that until Jesus. I don't even know when, because they just got in there. Yeah, they may have been talking for the last 6, 7, 8 months about this transition. But that doesn't matter. It's going to take years before you see the change. You have games that are already in development that's going to take years before they still are released. So you're looking at the next generation or the next before you actually see the fruits of the labor. Very similar to what Microsoft is doing. They bought all these studios and we're already 4 years in, fixing go 5, and you've released 3 total games out of your first party. It's not really that huge. Most of all the stuff was already pre-planned before you bought the company. So, I think Sony will bring out games for the consumers. It's not no problem there. I think they're still going to rely, like they always have, is on third party for sure. Third party is what rules PlayStation, is what rule. That's why they've always done well, is because their relationships have always been very well, and they sell like hotcakes over there.
I wouldn't be too concerned of Sony getting complacent. I usually, I say that cautiously, But like, this isn't a generation like we saw with PS2 and PS3 with the arrogance of Sony going, get a second job, dorks. Where like the market does look very different, and games are starting to become more easily accessible than ever, or have become more easily accessible than ever before. Like, Apple is killing it on the game side. We don't talk about them enough, but they are making buku bucks off that app store. So, because of things like the advent of mobile and PC gaming, I think we're going to see them still maintain the fervor that they currently have. I'm not too incredibly nervous, but I'm cautious.
Sony's focus right now is on increasing margins, I think.
Yeah.
The games are getting too expensive. One person we haven't really talked about is Hiroki Totoki, who's the chairman of Sony. I think Badbit brought him up earlier, but he's come out and said, we are looking to expand to more platforms, and we are looking to bring down the cost of developing new games. So that's probably Sony's focus, in this, nearby future here over the next few years. I don't think, they're going to slow down on games. If anything, I think we're going to see more of those smaller games like I talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to see the next, like I've been saying on Twitter, is you're going to see Sci-Fi Rush, the next exclusive. Iron Tango, baby.
Oh, man.
No, I think when it comes down to it, I want to hear Detective Seeds. What do you think when it comes down to it? I know you've become a exquisite platinum trophy hunter. So I guess these games that you've loved on other consoles coming to PlayStation so you can get more trophies is just something that's just fantastic for you. But Seeds, what do you think at the end of the day? It seems like, and I think Kami said this, we have to take a step back and realize that the reason we don't hear from Phil and company online the way we used to on Twitter, etc., social media, is I do believe that Satya Nadella and I can't remember her name, Amy Hood, thank you, the CFO, have taken over. I think they said, listen, at this point, Xbox has spent a lot of money. Now, good money spent. These are great IP. These are very valuable. We're going to take it from here. And
I think I've said it before.
Yeah.
The Xbox community, I think I said it last week or a couple weeks before, the Xbox community is now going to see what it's like on the Sony and the PlayStation side. You are not going to get those grassroots involvement and communication like they used to. It's just not going to happen anymore. You are seeing what it's like when the corporate comes in and they go, there's this separation between business and consumer, and you're going to see that now. Because the one thing, and I know that the PlayStation community as a whole, I guess I shouldn't say as a whole, but they tend to push back is, hey, tell us more, talk to us more. And I understand that to an extent. And the Xbox community over the past, pretty much since Xbox has kind of been in existence as far back as I remember, has been more community oriented and more open to talking. And I think in a lot of ways it's hurt them now because it felt like that family atmosphere, and the family has gone through a divorce in terms of they've done something that you don't like and it hurts. And so I think that relationship is no longer going to be there. I also think that the Xbox, and I know, some guys call it port begging. I don't give a rat's ass what you call it. I just want to play the video games. I do prefer my PlayStation because of the controller. I do have injuries from combat, so I do prefer the DualSense controller and how the sticks are closer. It keeps my hands from hurting. I enjoy the platinum trophies. I've become addicted to it. So I will play those games. I do think that they're going to use Jeff Keighley, though, to announce the games coming over to PlayStation. He has 2 shows a year. He has the Summer Game Fest and he has the Game Awards. I don't think that there was a lot of comfort with Phil Spencer making that announcement about the 4 games coming. So I do think that they will utilize Jeff Keighley as a buffer if you so to speak, so that the Xbox executives are not up there saying, "Hey, PlayStation fans, here comes Starfield this holiday," or whatever they decide to do it. I think that they will use Jeff Keighley as a buffer, and he will be the one to announce that coming over. So there's still somewhat of a separation, but at the end of the day, man, Microsoft wants your money. They don't care. They want your money, and they have spent almost $100 billion in totality between Activision Blizzard and Bethesda. And, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that selling 800,000 consoles is not going to cut it. And having those games go into Game Pass without that subscription number rising, it's not going to cut it. And if you can't tap into to an additional faucet to bring in what pays the bills, which is money, you have to take your games elsewhere and sell them on a third-party high-margin system, which is what I think it was the CFO said. Competition that we used to look at as competition is no longer competition. The revenue streams. PlayStation, Nintendo, the revenue streams now. And those games are going to go over. But I do think that they have a buffer, and I think they use Jeff Keighley as that buffer.
That's a pretty smart idea. I want to tackle that one thing you said earlier, though, Seeds. It's something that Kyle and I this week had like a really good back and forth with. He said it with more terror, which is like, I actually, over the past few weeks, I've changed my tune. You know what? I get it. PlayStation don't talk to us much. Maybe that's for the best. Like, maybe I get it. Like, the blog posts they feel insincere, but Jesus Christ, what we've seen over the past few weeks with, you know, Xbox, changing tune all of a sudden and then getting such a pushback, and then people wondering, hey, why isn't Aaron talking to me anymore? It's the realization of, oh, right, this was a business. We were not friends. The parasocial relationships that, you know, we build with each other may not be healthy, but especially how we build them with brands has become increasingly unhealthy.
Exactly. And the other point that I'll make here real quickly is we may not like what some would call the lack of communication from Sony, but when they do communicate, for the most part, they hit what they communicate on. And I think that you're going to continue to see them stick to, I would put into perspective that there is going to be a showcase at some point this month.
Next week.
Right. Okay. So there's going to be a showcase, and I would go into that showcase with the perspective of they're going to show me things that they can hit within the next 12 to 15 months. They may come out and show you somewhat of a roadmap, like a teaser trailer, like they did, you know, with Wolverine or something like that. But as a consumer, I think we need to learn to appreciate that, because I can know what I'm going to look forward to, whether it's their first party or their third party exclusives like Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, some of these Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't want to leave that off. I think that we need to start to appreciate that, because you could have the opposite of saying, here's our roadmap for the next 12 months, and then not hit any of it in that 12 months. And that's just going to piss off your consumers. So I do work in like I said, in the corporate world, and I'm used to, you know, don't say very much, try to overachieve. And I will say that I think that when it comes to Sony and PlayStation's model of keeping a healthy separation between not only influencers but also the community, I think it's smart, man. I think it's smart. I know some people don't like it. I see guys all the time like, man, tell us something. And I get that. But I think that the way they do it is a much better approach to keeping that separation between business and consumer. We are a business. We are a corporation, and this is how we run things. You are our consumer. That I just think that that's a much healthier way to do things, rather than trying to do that grassroots movement, which I can appreciate, man.
Yeah.
I think that they tried it, and I can appreciate trying to do that. But I just think when it comes time to make those decisions, it becomes like a family. Mm-hmm. It becomes like a family atmosphere where you just went through a horrible situation. People are let down, you know, and it creates an unhealthy balance.
I'll get booed in the chat. I like when I get the chat upset. I think Phil is as sincere as he tries to be. Like I truly think like he comes into things with the best of intentions. And, you know, I think what we've seen over the last few weeks with them is, yeah, like because they talk so much, because they interact so much, it's so much easier to get receipts. And it is, to me, a little bit unfair when they're like, well, you said this back in 2019. It's like, motherfucker, that was 5 years ago. You know, I said, I have thoughts in my head 5 years ago I don't agree with today, right? Like we change, but because the receipts are there, does that get people really upset, because now it feels like you're holding them to something. They lied to you about something. Whereas like, yeah, what we've seen with PlayStation is just like, hey, listen, we'll talk to you when we want. And sometimes we'll even just announce shit in a blog post because that's how little we care. But, you know, for the big stuff, you'll see Herman Hulse, you know, in the next showcase that's next week. Next week. If you say it with confidence and gusto, it will happen.
You've been asking for a showcase.
Willing it into existence.
I'm willing it, guys. This Friday, tomorrow. They're gonna announce it
tomorrow,
and an egg on everyone's face.
It probably will be tomorrow. To be honest with you, if I had a gamble, I would say it's going to be tomorrow. They'll announce that the show will probably be next Wednesday or next Thursday.
I'm still sticking with next Wednesday around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's still what I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was that, Seeds? What'd you say? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I put it out a couple weeks ago. I think it's going to be next Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it'll run for a little bit over 90 minutes. I think you're going to have a little bit of hardware and mixed in with games, both first party and third party.
So when you say hardware, are you talking PS5 Pro or are you talking about alternate accessories?
I can't comment on anything that surrounds a PS5 Pro or if it does or doesn't exist, but I do think that we'll probably see some maybe some new controller hardware that maybe shows up with a longer battery life.
Oh yes.
And some I think that'll probably be one of the main pieces of hardware. If they have some other stuff, I don't know, but I do think that the controller makes an appearance. I think that they'll probably show off some other third party, either exclusive or timed exclusive. Again, I would go into it with the next 12 to 15 months in mind.
Yeah.
And I would look at the showcase in that lens that they're going to show you exactly what they're going to hit in the next 12 to 15 months. They're probably going to hold something back for Jeff Keighley's show because we know I'm going to be at Summer Game Fest as well. If anyone's going to be out there, you guys want to meet up, whatever. And I do think that they will probably hold at least one thing back. If I was going to guess, they may give Keighley God of War Ragnarok on PC, or they may show it at the showcase. I don't know, but I think they're gonna hand something over to Keighley to showcase off because they're gonna be there.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I could see them giving him Ragnarok on PC, and then a lot
of people showing up. A lot of people show up to watch the Keighley's, to see a new game announcement or something, a sequel that we've all been dying for. I think handing him God of War on PC I don't think that's enough. Honestly, I think it would have to be more than that. I don't think that would make the big. Keighley's gotten some big reveals on his stages, whether it be the game show or the Game Awards or the Summer Game Show. I don't know. I could be wrong. I just think it would have to be a degree higher.
I mean, just historically, usually, if PlayStation is at Summer Game Fest, they'll give him like a PC port. I think last year we had Spider-Man 2's release date.
Yep.
And even that was usually like more than what they give Jeff Keighley. So I don't know. I think, a PC port sounds about right, but who knows? And then keep in mind, there's going to be a PlayStation showcase a week or two before. Yeah, next week.
and the reason I think it's going to be next Wednesday is because the day after you're going to have both CEOs kind of talking about the further vision. So if they show, I could be completely wrong. It could be the first week or the last week of May. I just see them doing the showcase, showing what they have to offer in the next 12 to 15 months, and then the very next day, both CEOs speak about what their plans are long term, and it's more of a long term vision of where they see themselves going. So I think that would work really well in tandem of here's one day you get your games and you get to see some of the cool shit that we're going to have.
Yeah.
And the next day it's going to be boring and we're going to talk about business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see them doing that.
Yeah.
Got a
Also-
couple.
Well, the last time they
Mr.
did it,
Babbitt.
they did it backwards. They did the corporate strategy first, and then they did the
Let's will this into existence,
it was
everybody.
backwards. Yeah.
Ready?
So they
On the
did
count
it
of three.
backwards.
And I don't think
this
that
showcase is going to be
the-
amazing.
Mr.
Yeah, I
Bloodborne
don't.
remake.
And the only reason why is because each CEO has to present their corporate strategy. So you have a game show first, and then you present your corporate strategy. They're probably going to present the corporate strategy first, which is their vision for first party, which is obviously is boring and detailed, whatever. But they'll just like what they did last time. They presented their strategy for hardware, software, blah blah blah, whatever, and then they went into their game show.
And I
Because
want to
when you think about
reiterate.
it, because look at it this way: the corporate strategy is for the shareholders, but you already had a game show which kind of like spoke on it.
Yeah.
So it could lead to a lot of magazines and journalists, and with the shitty journalists we have today, that could just they could put information out there, and the CEO, let's say in particular PlayStation, lost the narrative on what they wanted to present to the shareholders first. So I would think you would present to the shareholders first what's your strategy, so that way you talk to them, and now they got your vision, and then you do your game show, and there's going to be two sides of it, right? You're gonna have the side where everybody's enjoying it, but there's going to be the side where it's the worst thing ever, and you know how it is, right? There's going to be a narrative and stuff. That's how everything works today in social media.
Do you think they do the corporate overview, if we want to call it that, on Thursday, and then
they already got the time. Sony already published it, so it's going to be
the corporate overview with the CEOs.
The corporate strategy meeting. It says May 22nd, 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. EDT, so Eastern Daylight Time.
Yep.
Well, that's next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's next Wednesday, and in Japan it's 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Japan. So Japan.
What did I tell you guys? Next week.
It's on Thursday. It's on Thursday. So that's their corporate strategy. So I would say shortly after that, if they plan to have a showcase, maybe the earliest is Friday or the week after.
You don't need inside sources when you have the power of the human spirit on your side.
You're gonna will it.
I'm willing it into existence, and then we're gonna see Bloodborne remake, and the world's gonna be healed.
I love it.
Come on, Herman.
Mr. Babbitt, why didn't you get into the gaming industry? Like literally, it would have been so much better. Shout out to Freddie in the super chases. Thank you, Mooch. I went on a bit of a rant. Freddie, thank you. Appreciate that. Abdi says, what will Sony do about the PSN issue on PC if they expect success? Ghost is not sold in 180 countries. I think the answer for that, and Singer, you're back for it. Good to have Singer back. Singer, I think the answer to that is they're going to have their own storefront. I think that's the way they're going to go. I think they're going to have, right? And I don't know if that, now I will say, I don't think that's successful. I don't think
it wouldn't be.
I don't think that would be successful and not put it on Steam. But
I think that they have hedged. I think I said it last week. I think that they have done the numbers and they have hedged that the data, the granular data that they collect from people signing into PSN is more valuable to them than the amount of money they would make from the non-PSN countries. Because if not, they would do it.
I got a dip, but I'm gonna say this: PlayStation storefront would be absolutely horrible idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be
Absolutely.
because the main money of the store is again third party. Ain't nobody buying third party on the PlayStation Store.
Nope.
And two games a year on the PlayStation Store from first party is not going to cover the revenue.
That's right.
Like if you make a store on PC, it's because you want to sell holistically what the game industry offers, and everybody gets it through Steam. So abysmal strategy if they do that. Like,
and everybody leaves Steam.
It's just
and then
abysmal.
a year later they come back.
The thing is, to his point though, what they did by PSN. Thing is, you activated it halfway through, and then you made it mandatory. Now, there's a valuable lesson that every company, Microsoft learned this a while ago with games for Windows Live. You don't force the PC community. You do that, they will backlash, and you will feel the backlash. They will not fuck with you, and they will forever hold it against you. So what you do is you have to work with them and go, this is what it's good. This is cool. Cool. Okay, cool. And then everyone goes about their day. But you need to keep the games on Steam, because making your own storefront, that's nice. But what you have to realize is, if it ain't Steam, the vast majority are not gonna mess with it. Look at the way they view the Epic Game Store versus Steam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Epic Game Store, universally hated. The only reason people go on there is to collect their free games, most of the time. And then they immediately log off. I go on there, collect my free games, and then just like, okay, close it. And
I don't even do that anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
Although they did give out Dragon Age Inquisition today.
Kami, I don't either. I don't do that either. I used to go on the Epic Game Store, log on, get the free games. Then I realized I'm sitting here like after the 20th game, and I go, I've not sparked one of these games up.
I'm not playing them.
Not one. And I mean, they're not even bad games. It's just that, like, I guess it's the same thing, right? Whether it's the console of choice you love or Steam. Like, I want to play where I'm slowly building a Steam, friends list. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, I want to play. I enjoy playing a game. I was playing on Steam, and someone wrote me the other day. They're like, yo, Mooch, what do you think about that game you're playing? I'm like, oh, it's pretty cool. They're like, oh, I was thinking about picking it up. But, tell me a little about it. Like, it was just fun to, like, have that conversation. If I'm on the Epic Game Store, I mean, I'm not. Yeah. No one's reaching. No one's there. It's it's like you're offline playing, You don't
even have the features, even if there were people, so...
The thing is that the vast majority, like, PC in of itself gaming is much bigger than consoles. Because I think back, League of Legends revealed last year's stats. Their monthly active users last year, 140 million people a month playing your game.
Jeez.
Now, that's just on League of Legends itself. Riot Games is making buku dollars of that because they're selling skins and they release skins all the time and they're really cool. And yes, I have sunk a couple of thousand on the skins, but that's because they're pretty. Yeah. Sue me. But so to convince all these people, for one, they need to keep the games on Steam. Your own store, bad idea. Don't do it. And then just make it so everyone understands that you don't just suddenly switch and make PSN mandatory. You go up front to the PC community. To play this game, you'll need PSN right here in front of you, black and white, and they'll go about it. Just what they did was with Helldivers was they made it mandatory a couple of months after the game launched, and that's when you had the backlash.
That's right.
So Ghost of Tsushima, it'll do fine. People won't mind signing into it. It's just if you do it halfway through a game's sales and then all of a sudden make it mandatory. So that was a slip up. They're learning.
Well, what about this though, Singer? The one thing that's just to take PC side here, like there's 180 countries that can't. Or I'm reading that because I read that off of a super chat. But there's a lot of countries that can't buy Ghost of Tsushima. And that sucks, right? I mean, because they don't have PSN.
But that's the thing. That's a PlayStation problem.
It is a PlayStation problem.
They don't have PSN in those countries, so this is on them. This ain't on Steam. Because Steam is universal around the world.
I agree with you, but Singer, we both that's not something Sony can snap their finger and just make it appear. That's a lot of work. So I mean, they're going to lose. I'm going to use your words. They're going to lose out on a lot of money there.
They are, but if you really want to claw them back, you have to make them excited for PlayStation games. And I just feel like when I looked at the Steam community pages for, let's say, when Horizon launched, because I bought it and I was like, okay, let's see what all the hype's about. But when I looked on the pages, there isn't much hype in. It's like, oh, cool, this game finally came to PC 4 years later, and that was basically it. So if you want to hype them up, you need to give them something. Like Helldivers 2. You gave them Helldivers 2, they absolutely loved it. Sold spectacular. So
I think any of the games and service they'll get.
I gotta go. I love you all very much.
Well, Mr. Badbit, I'll tell you, I was we're here 2.5 hours. I kept you guys over. We will discuss, I wanted to say Assassin's Creed Shadows. I did want to get into, but I know that it's late for Singer. Mr. Badbit had to go. P-Rock was like, Mooch, I gotta bounce. HR Bomber.
An energy drink, so we're good.
I appreciate that.
Porter Rock has a bedtime of 8:30, so we're an hour over.
Oh man, you're making fun. That's a basketball hit right there, Seeds.
Yeah, I'm surprised he could stay awake to watch the game the other night.
He's gonna hear that and come back at you. I tell you. I do want to say thanks to everybody. Honestly, it's 2.5 hours. We will discuss that. I will carry that over to next week's conversations. Next week's going to be absolutely on fire. Want to say thanks to everybody, guys. Please hit that like button. I do have a couple super chats here that I didn't get to that we can kind of discuss as we kind of move our way out there. The great Blessed Red. This is an interesting point. Singer, I think you'll like this. He says Xbox isn't failing because of day and date on PC. It's failing because Game Pass isn't growing. PC did help them, but they are telling people to not buy games and zero marketing. What do you think about that, Singer, when you hear about what Blessed said?
He is correct, because when it was brought up earlier, the day and date all these Xbox guys are leaving Xbox and going to PC. That happened in 2013. Like, they shot themselves in the foot then. Everyone did the mass exodus because Call of Duty rights went to PlayStation, and they really fucked up that last gen. And now it's just, they keep screwing up. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. They almost shot themselves in the head, probably, at this point. Like, Xbox is completely fucked and doomed. But it's on them. But it has nothing to do with day and date. They had to do day and date to make something of a failure, right? So they had to get some money somewhere. Oh, quick, let's throw all the games day and date on PC. But that is the reason people are leaving the console. People are leaving because there's no games to play. And all your games are going to PlayStation anyway, so people will be like, well, I'll just buy a PlayStation because I get all of... A console-only gamer will be like, well, if I get PlayStation, I get all of Xbox's games, and I get all the PlayStation games. Win-win. Right?
Yeah.
So, he is correct. Like, the day and date actually didn't force people. That was a mandatory thing they needed to do to attempt to recoup something. So, I think day and date isn't actually that bad of a deal. It's just Xbox royally fucked up.
I think it'll be a case-by-case basis, if we're talking Sony. We will probably see some day-and-date games, maybe the smaller games, single-player games. I could see them doing day-and-date for some of those smaller ones. But God of War, Spider-Man, I don't think those are ever going to be day-and-date PC.
No, not for the foreseeable future. And I think that even goes into... You never speak in absolutes, but I think... At least for the foreseeable future in the beginning of the PS6, you can't say, hey, everybody, I really want you to buy this console that's going to cost a fortune. By the way, you can play it on PC day one. You're like, what? So it just doesn't hold water. And I do agree with you, Singer, on a certain point where you're saying it's not day and date. It's the fact that Microsoft pivoted so quickly. You know, and I don't even have a good analogy. It's almost like if you're in a ship, a little rowboat, and it's sinking, but it's sinking slowly. And you're like, Singer, shoot the flare. You go, well, Mooch, they had to put it on day and date. You have to shoot the flare so they see us, the rescue boat sees us, but instead of shooting it up, you shoot it into the boat and it makes a bigger hole. So it was kind of like, it seems like what they did sped the process up of making Xbox as far as a platform. Let's keep in mind here, folks, Xbox is going to be an absolutely massive publisher. They are a massive publisher today. It's just when we say Xbox, we're talking about the beloved platform, and what they did to it there. So I don't know if I agree with going day and date. You're saying it didn't hurt them. I'll also say it didn't help as far as the platform goes.
Thing is, I can agree, but the thing is, PlayStation moving in a new direction now. You could clearly tell, because I remember there was a time when people said PlayStation games will never come to PC. Yet here we are. So I mean, they're moving in a new direction, and there's a lot of growth to be had there. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years, 2030, you might start seeing some day and dates. And I'm just putting out there. Don't shoot it down. It's possible.
I hear you, and I really can't argue with that. I want to give a shout out. I hope he's still here in the chat. Shout out to Shattered Glass 23. He says, "Did you see my $10 super chat? We didn't. It did not come through. I even showed him. It's not here. But he said, listen. I want to say, Mooch, great show. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Shattered Glass. He says if he did come back with a $5 super chat, and he says if PlayStation goes day and date, they lose a console and software sale from PC gamers, and maybe a double dip later. PC guys will double dip years later for PC. That's my thought too, Shattered Glass. That's my thought too. I am under the impression when I see a game like Ghost of Tsushima, which is years old, right? Is that 4 years old? You were saying 4 earlier, Singer. Is that true? Is it 4?
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5. It's
4 or 5 years old, and it's number 1. Now, don't get me wrong, Singer and a lot of other PC folks have said, listen, but they'll make a lot more if it was day and date. They would, but there would be a lot less PlayStation 5 sold and PlayStation 5 versions, and then PlayStation 5 deluxe editions before it got to PC. So those, they know the numbers. We don't know the numbers. I understand Singer's point. I'm not saying Singer's wrong. I'm saying, but if you want to sell, if you still want to be in the hardware space, you have to respect that piece of hardware. The software will, if you have a good product like we see Ghost of Tsushima is, proof's in the pudding. Today, number 1, 57,000 people playing at one point the minute that damn thing came out. And as I'm here out doing the podcast, my little friends notification from Steam has been going off all night long, and it says, I'm not going to mention their names, but playing Ghost of Tsushima, playing Ghost of Tsushima, playing Ghost of Tsushima. So my point is if I'm a Sony rep or I'm like, well, I don't necessarily need to do day and date. I'm maybe not making the most I would on PC, but when PC gamers want to play a really good game, they know that they can buy our game. Now, I don't think they should wait 4 years. I've said this. I think 12 to 24 months is that sweet spot, depending on the game. And like Kami said, or Detective Seeds said a second ago, maybe you could even say a day and date for like really small type. Like let's say they come out with a really, really small indie type title from a first party. You want to put that day and date, knock yourself out because that's not a system seller. Like nobody's going to go and buy like an Xbox or a PlayStation for like a Hi-Fi Rush. And I'm picking on Hi-Fi Rush. I really like it. But I'm just saying.
Until Dawn, someone said in chat.
Yeah, good point. Until Dawn. Like no one's going to be like, oh my God, I got $500 burning a hole in my pocket. Until Dawn, that's it. That's what I've been waiting for. That's not going to do it. So those great example, by the way, Kami. Great catch in the audience.
The thing is, with his double dip thing, PC gamers would just never buy a console. That's just the reality.
So Singer, now that
you
there's
have to go to them because how many?
But Singer, listen to me for a second here, because you said this earlier in the show, and there was a lot of people talking, so I didn't want to interrupt your point or their point. But I do want to say it before the show's over. You're 1,000% correct. But I'm just going to tell you. There's a crap ton of console gamers that'll never build or buy a gaming PC.
Yes.
So
that is correct.
What I'm saying, and don't get me wrong, your number may be larger than my number. But what I'm saying to you is that population, and as some of these gamers that start on console get older and are like, I don't feel like buying, 25 components, some thermal paste, and spending my Sunday doing, you know what I mean? I did it. I'm going to build my new one. I have a 2018 PC that I built in 2018. I'm going to build, when the new cards come out, I'm going to build another one. For me, I think doing this and being in the know and playing games, third-party games, some third-party games on PC is fun. But do I always game there? No. I'm building a PC at this rate, every 6 years? I think that's fair. That's not like I'm a PC enthusiast. A lot of people are updating their PCs yearly. So I'm not, but that's fine. So I think there's that, and I'll give you the microphone back, Singer. But I mean, that's the one thing I just want to let you know. Like, there's people that are my generation. They're like, I'm not building a PC. I see the benefits. I can see it with my own eyes. I'm not doing that. I play Madden. I play Call of Duty. I play Fortnite. I play Apex Legends. They look really great on my PS5 and my Series X. You know what I mean? Like, there's a huge population that wants to, ready, like the Ronco knives. They want to set it and forget it. They want to plug it in. They want to just play. They don't care if they can ramp the thing up. They don't care if it comes in balanced mode, performance mode. They don't care. They don't even know what we're talking about. You're talking about 60 million PS5s out there, 117 million PS4s out there, 50-some Xbox Ones out there, and 25 million Xbox Series consoles out there. Those people, for the most part, unless they're double dipping in PC, they don't care. And I mean, if you go, well, Mooch, prove they don't care. They bought the box. That's the proof, right? If they cared, they wouldn't buy it. So they don't care. And that's a lot of customers right there. And when you have the box, remember, in that ecosystem, maybe you're buying other apps off of Sony. They're getting a cut there. It's in your living room, So it is what it is. I don't think that you're wrong. And there's a lot more PC gamers out there for sure. But do all the PC gamers that say I play on PC, do they all have 4090s? Do they have 3090s? Do they even have 2080s? Not sure.
Actually, the most popular card right now is the 3060.
It's the most popular card?
It's the most popular card on Steam, yeah. So, like, they've upgraded.
Good. That's good. That's very good.
You know, the base of the PC is moving on and up, which is great. Because it used to be like a 1060.
It used to be it used to be a 1060 or something.
So, you know, they're moving on and up. But, see, you need to meet that people, because I never think a console selling 150 million again, I don't... Like, the PS2, I think, was the edge case. That'll probably be the maximum you'll ever be able to sell. After that point, you just probably won't be able to sell anymore. So if you want some more growth, you just look at PC. He said he wants to look at PC more, so if you want to get the PC customer interested, you need to give them an incentive, right? 4-year-old games is not an incentive.
Yeah. So. Tommy, what were you going to say?
One thing I want to add is to keep demographics in mind. With the younger generation, what is, the number one job that they all want? Streamer, content creator.
That's right. YouTube star.
For the most part, you're doing that on PC.
Correct.
So you're already going to have those people that only are going to play on console, but with some of the younger kids, a lot more of them are getting into PC, and Sony's going to want to meet them where they are. So, like I said, maybe we do get some of those smaller day-and-date releases on PC.
Right. No, and I see that, Kami, you're 1,000% correct. That's where the young generation. But you got to remember, the young generation that aspires to be that, they have to talk their parents into spending that money. You know, we sit here all the time on the podcast and we're like, man, it's, games are getting expensive and this is getting expensive, and it's like, we just turn around and expect right away, like instantly, that we assume that the young generation's parents are going to go drop. You say the 36. How much is the 3060 card going for, Singer? 800?
It's a budget.
Yeah, it's a
budget card.
Well, you say
probably
a budget
looking at like 200, 300.
Oh, is it really? It's 200-300. I thought so. It's the third. Is it 30? Yeah. Can you take a look for me, just for example? But don't forget, guys, that's just the card. That's not the motherboard. It's not the CPU. It's
over here, 360 Ti. I've got Ti.
Yeah. What do you got?
It's like 250.
Okay.
You're looking at if you want to buy it. Like I'm looking at Amazon, 250. You could pick up an MSI 360 Venta.
Yes.
The whole shebang. So yeah, I mean, like, graphic card prices have normalized now. It's not inflated like what it used to be. Like, the prices have come down for the most part.
No, that's actually a great price.
So yeah, I mean, it's a reasonable card, and sure, all in you're paying like up to 1,000.
Yeah.
But once you've built that PC, that's 4 or 5 years. But then people complain about that. But then think about how much you spend on services like PSN every year. So if I build a PC right now and I spend 2,000, okay, that'll last me. Let's say that lasts me 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much money did you just spend on PSN for those 10 years? How much money did you spend on if they release a next gen refresh like a PS5 Pro? So you bought the PS5, you go out and buy the PS5 Pro. Okay, so that's 2 consoles. Then you have the price of all the games. Bear in mind, you get games at a discount on PC. All perfectly fine and legal, so none of that business that people like to peddle. So it's, it's like the overall cost over the period of time probably works out roughly the same. Mm-hmm. It's just the upfront cost of PC gaming is bigger.
Yeah, I'm seeing 300 here as well.
There we go. That's in dollars, of course.
Yeah, and it's funny. No, when you said 3060, I was just because I remember the conversation go back for the 40, I believe a 47 with a 4080. Is that around 800 these days? I don't know. I haven't looked.
Yes.
I built my PC in 2018. I have no idea what they're going for right now.
It's like if you were to buy one over here right now, it's like 1,000 for 4080.
Oh, okay. All right. So
that's a super 4080 super.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems a bit high.
Yeah.
What I'll say is that the 3060 is a bit more modern, so it has, those newer features like DLSS.
Yep.
Can you run the latest AAA games on it? Probably not. Like Alan Wake 2 is not running on a 3060. So
yeah, it is.
I mean, it's running, but it's going to struggle, I feel like.
Well, the thing is with PC is you have the options to go into settings. You could turn down the resolution. You could turn down the settings like some shading. You could turn down the global illumination. So you can personalize the game for your setup, whereas console, you don't have that option. Like, you get what you get, and it's for the box. But, obviously, it's like, oh, can you run Cyberpunk on this? Well, turn off the ray tracing, dial down the settings a bit, boom, you're hitting 60 FPS, you got it. And it's swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, no,
I like how this turned into console versus PC.
No. It's just console is a closed box, right? You can't do anything with it, so the games just come in as they are, as the developers made them. But you can't adjust the performances and all that kind of thing. Like if you're really worried about performance, turn on DLSS. There we go.
Right.
I mean.
No, yeah, Singer's my go. He's one of my. I have 2 or 3 very good friends of mine through the community that are PC gamers, and I trust Singer wholeheartedly with his recommendations on PC. If you guys aren't following him, please go over and follow Death Singer on X. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to all things PC related. Tactical Gamer says Mets will not make the playoffs, but Kansas City Royals will. Take your preemptive L, Mooch. I'll take that preemptive L. That's fine. We're still in a building year. All right, who's talking sports on a gaming podcast anyway? All right, guys, I want to say this much. I want to say thanks to you guys for being here. Almost 3 hours tonight. The great Detective Seeds, who's very under the weather, yet here for your enjoyment. The great Death Singer, who is over in Wales, I might add, and it is extremely late over there, approaching 3 a.m., I believe, Singer. Am I right or am I wrong? Who knows?
You are completely right. It's, 10 minutes to 3 a.m. This is fine. You know,
I've always taken an interest in knowing time zones and caring about it. It's almost like, you know what I mean? It's almost like when you ask someone, Singer, how's everyone doing in the family? Oh, everyone's doing great. When you know someone's time zone, I think they appreciate it.
Well, you see, I keep a track of that because, shout out to Scumcast, obviously, when the clocks go back in America, or they go forwards, it's not 5 hours between me and the East Coast. It goes down to 4 hours.
It goes to 4, yes.
So instead of the podcast starting at 12 my time, it starts at 11 my time, and I get caught out by that every single year because I shouldn't be caught out by it, but I'm like, oh yeah, the podcast is already on for an hour. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, but I generally try to keep track of it.
Oh my God. No, great to have you guys here. Shout out to Just Wait. He says a 3-hour Crossfire. He says you can finish Hellblade 2 in 2 podcasts. Oh, the great Just Wait in with a last minute jab before we leave. The great Just Wait. Thank you guys so much. Guys, I've really slipped on my twitch.tv showing of Elden Ring, and believe me, the great Sin Vendetta has been coming down very hard on me, saying, Mooch, we got so much more game to play, so we're going to attempt to get this weekend going. We are going to get that game done before the DLC, so I'm just under 5. I got about 5 weeks to get this done, so it's not, we're probably a quarter of the way through, which of course Sin will say it'll be less, but I think we're a quarter of the way through. We're going to keep trucking through. Go over there, guys. It's twitch.tv, Mooch TV, same here, M00CHTV. Drop the O's for zeros. I'll go here in reverse order. Say, Kami, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. It really means the world to me. I really look up to the things that you do in the community. Positive, great information, keeping people informed. And, the fact that you go on podcasts and you spread the love, man, it just means the world to me. So, as always, keep up what you're doing, please. Love what you do for all of us podcasters. And we can't wait till you join us again on Crossfire, hopefully in the near future. Kami, let everybody know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Big fan of the show as well. I listen every week, so
thank you.
Thanks for having me. You can follow me at Okami13 on Twitter, gaming news, coverage like that, and then King Kami TV on YouTube. We're starting up the YouTube journey, so hit that subscribe button over there as well.
Guys, please go over and check out Okami. It's at Okami13_. You guys need to go over there and follow him. If you care about gaming news, that's a great source right there. That is an outstanding source for news. Absolutely. We'll always promote you here, Kami. Thanks for doing what you do. The great Death Singer, guys, also just a phenomenal friend, great person in the community, and he's a dear friend of my dear friend, the great Ashen Luca. So nothing greater can be said about the great Death Singer. Singer, let people know where they can find you, buddy. And I want to say, Death Singer, good on you, and thank you for reaching out to me earlier today.
Hello? Oh, there we go.
There you
I'm
are.
back.
You're back.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. It was just, I saw the thumbnail and I was like, I can add something to this. Because I have personal experience, and I was like,
I love it.
This isn't the red flag people think it is, I don't think. But yeah, it's a pleasure being here, as always. And you can find me on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Asher Lucas channel, doing the Scumcast with Forte, Slow-Mo, and Luca herself. Having a great time over there, so check it out. And yeah, great show. Nice meeting Kami, Seed, and everyone else.
Absolutely.
And also, shout out to the chat, my biggest fans. Hating on me in the show. Love to see it. By the way, PCMR forever.
That's if they hate you in the chat, it means they love you in real life. I just want you to know that. Okay? They love you. They love you dearly. The great detective Seeds, which he's been on mute for a while here. There he is. Seeds, I would have done your outro for you. Don't worry, I would have plugged the channel. Seeds, love that you could make it here tonight. All of us on the panel, all of us at home here are hoping you feel better real soon. Looking forward already to next Thursday's podcast. And of course, those phenomenal tweets and YouTube videos you put out. So, Detective Seeds, let everybody know where they can find you. And thanks for being here tonight, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. As always, sorry I was a little bit late. Got the flu going around. So, at Detective Seeds on X and YouTube, I just put up a Mafia Platinum Trophy today. I need 8 more subscribers, and I will be at 16,000. So, if you
go.
Feel inclined to hit subscribe, that would be awesome. I will be in LA for Summer Game Fest. There's a big publisher that's was kind enough to bring me out for accommodations and stuff. I will also, when I get back, I will have some stuff to share on the show. That will be when the embargo is up. So pretty cool stuff. And it was awesome hanging out with you guys and being able to talk games, man. Appreciate it.
The great Detective Seeds, everybody. I appreciate Seeds being here and being a part of the panel, and he keeps his ear to the ground, guys. Now, he happens to be a Pacers fan, but we're not holding out against him. Just want to let everybody know that. We don't we don't do that here. Seeds, good luck to your team, but I hope you guys lose by about 40. Nonetheless, let's not talk sports. Seeds, great stuff, as always. The Great Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap couldn't make it tonight. He had a little something going on with the family. I'm sure I will be talking to him tomorrow morning about all these topics and more. Shout out to Brap. You guys know he goes live Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Shout out to David Faulkner, who had to leave early. Want to say shout out to him. Shout out to the great Porter Rock, who had to leave just a few moments ago. Guys, that's at PorterRock77_. Go over and follow him. The Great Gaming Forte and the amazing Slow-Mo Backslap are live right now on DPS Podcast. Go over and check them out as you leave here. The great HR Bomber, who works very hard out there. One of the hardest workers out there. Shout out to HR Bomber. That's at HR Bomber over on X. And of course, Mr. Positivity himself, Mr. Bad Bit. He should be Mr. Good Bit. I'm just going to tell him that offline. Nonetheless, guys, enjoy your evening. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back next Thursday. Go over and follow Mooch. If you're not following here, I just saw Major, I think it's Calrage, just joined, just subscribe to the channel. Please, guys, go ahead and subscribe here. Go over to twitch.tv. Same thing, M00CHTV. Go over there, hit the follow button. Costs $0, and I really appreciate it. Shout out again to MASH for 20 donated membership subscriptions tonight. I tip my cap to you. I know Mash says he was working tonight while he was listening to the podcast, so he's double duty, and I truly appreciate it. Shout out to the great Mash. Guys, that being said, again, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Peace out, and good night.
If you don't want to pay for any online anymore, but build yourself a PC.
Do it. Do exactly what Singer just said.
Head in the PC.
Peace out, guys.